Chapter 428. At this moment, Cher Chow was completely wrapped in ice. The bone-piercing chill had already numbed her muscles and nerve. She couldn't even feel the necrosis of her muscles. The only thing she could do now was to desperately urge the Yuan water body tempering technique. While using her magic power to nourish and repair her body, she also absorbed the water attribute spiritual energy from the outside world. Even so, she still couldn't resist the invasion of the frost energy. However, between her muscles, bones, and internal organs, there was a layer of Yuan water shield that protected the inside of her body. For the time being, her life wasn't in danger. No, I still have to avenge Master Wang. In the future, I still have to enter the core formation stage. How can I be stuck at the foundation establishment stage? With a shout in her heart, Cher Chow released all of her middle foundation establishment stage spiritual sense and enveloped her body. Then, in one breath, she stimulated most of her water attribute magic power to nourish her body. Even so, the frost energy was still firmly destroying her muscles. The eruption of her water attribute magic power was only able to resist for a moment. I can definitely do it. The surrounding spiritual energy is abundant. As long as I persist for a while, my body will definitely reach a critical point under repeated tempering. Cher Chow's heart was incomparably determined. The Yuan water body tempering technique in her body circulated even faster. The surrounding water attribute spiritual energy rushed into her body at an accelerated rate. At this moment, a small portion of the frost power that had destroyed her body was actually being driven by it and fused into her muscles effectively. His body, which was nourished by the new water attribute mana, was actually able to resist the weakening power of the ice. His muscles, which were constantly changing between the power of the ice and the nourishing power of the water attribute, were also gradually undergoing different changes. It seemed like an instant, but also like a long time had passed. Cher Chow shouted in her heart. She grasped that trace of opportunity and immediately released her spiritual sense. She circulated the liquid condensation technique that Lu Kuan taught her and fiercely suppressed the remaining magic power in her body. Buzz! Cher Chow's breath suddenly rose in the 9 nether cauldron and several cracks appeared on the ice outside her body. Lu Kuan and Qin Yushu, who were outside, finally breathed a sigh of relief. They both felt that Cher Chow's body was in a liquid state and knew that she had finally succeeded in breaking through. Lu Kuan turned to the dazed Xiao Hongfei and said, "Thank you, Senior Xiao. Shuer has already overcome her biggest hurdle. After another day of cultivation, she will be able to enter the foundation establishment stage." Xiao Hongfei finally came back to his senses. With a complicated expression, he looked at Lu Kuan and said, "No wonder you and I wanted the ancient core formation method. The most crucial part of this foundation establishment method is the condensation method of the ancient foundation establishment method." Lu Kuan was startled at first, but then he remembered that this person in front of him had broken through completely using ancient methods to reach his current realm. It was reasonable for him to realize this. He smiled bitterly and said, "As expected, I can't escape Senior Zhao's discerning eyes. However, I'll have to trouble Senior to keep the situation of my foundation establishment method a secret." I, Xiao Hongfei, will not go so far as to tell others about their foundation establishment method. After saying this, Xiao Hongfei walked out of the cave. Lu Kuan opened the cave's restrictions and muttered in his heart, "If it weren't for your nonsense, there wouldn't be such a thing as the Philosophies on the Demon Island. Fortunately, it's useless even if others know about this. Take the ancient foundation establishment method for example. Many qi condensation cultivators have this secret technique, but how many of them don't use the foundation establishment pill to enter the foundation establishment stage?" After seeing Xiao Hongfei leave, Zhao Qingtian immediately said excitedly, Master, since Shui has also entered the foundation establishment stage, then the two of us can go out and explore together. Even if Master and Martial Uncle Qin go into seclusion, Senior Xiao will still be here. Haha, I really want to experience what it feels like to go on a killing spree. Lu Kuan coldly snorted and said, "The two of you are not allowed to go out before you finish refining your spiritual immortal treasures. Also, when you go out to fight, use the fighting methods of ordinary cultivators. Although the second foundation establishment stage will not increase your divine sense by much, it will still be stronger than that of ordinary mid-foundation establishment cultivators. The power of your immortal treasures will not be weak." Seeing that Zhao Qingtian was a little disappointed, Lu Kuan continued, "If you encounter a stronger enemy, use the techniques of a body cultivator. However, you must kill your opponent completely. On the Demon Island, there are still some disciples of the 10 great sects who have seen my attack method. If your body cultivator techniques are discovered, you may be targeted." When Zhao Qingtian heard this, he knew that this was related to their safety. He said seriously, "Master, I understand." After that, Lu Kuan checked this disciple's primordial wood shield and other technique. In the end, he concluded that Zhao Qingtian was suitable for combat support. He could use his wood attribute spiritual energy to interrupt the opponent's attack rhythm. When necessary, he could use his physical body's recovery ability to resist the opponent's attack. A day later, the 9 underworlds cauldron opened. Sher Chao jumped out with a face full of joy. After successfully entering the foundation establishment stage, she could clearly feel the explosive increase in her strength. More importantly, this breakthrough did not damage her hair. Even her robes were intact. Compared to Zhao Qingtian's sorry state, she was much better. Next, Lu Kuan did the same thing and tested Sher Chao's strength. He found that her physical strength was about the same as Zhao Qingtian's, around 20,000 jin. This let Lu Kuan know that 20,000 jin of strength was the limit of the foundation establishment stage. This time, Zhao Shui had relied on the power of ice to break through, and the water elemental dharma power in her body had also undergone some changes. It had become closer to the ice elemental dharma power, causing her attacks to be stronger than Zhao Qingtian's. Lu Kuan thought for a moment and let Sher Chao imitate the twin swords in her body to forge a spiritual immortal treasure. It would be best to mix in some ice attribute materials. First, she would familiarize herself with the twin swords. In the future, when Sher Chao's cultivation increased, she would definitely be able to inherit Wang Ruobing's ice attribute magic treasures. Finally, Lu Kuan also took care of Zhao Qingtian. When Yu Xian's spiritual energy was full, she would assist him in breaking through the bottleneck. With the help of Zhao Qingtian's wood attribute spiritual energy, Yu Xian could completely use her own elemental fire to temper her body. Moreover, Zhao Qingtian's rich spiritual energy would help Yu Xian repair her physical body. In this way, Yu Xian's breakthrough method was very similar to his wood-igniting fire method. With Lu Kuan's experience imparted to Yu Xian, this method of breakthrough had the highest chance of reaching the foundation establishment stage. After listening to Lu Kuan's arrangements, Zhao Qingtian's expression was solemn. He said seriously, "Master, for the next 10 years, you can go into seclusion without worry. We will arrange for the cultivation of our junior brothers." After conversing with Lu Kuan for a few days, the Zhao siblings left Lu Kuan's cave residence. Watching their departing figures, Lu Kuan muttered to himself, "When their generation of body cultivators enters the foundation establishment stage, the body refining pavilion will finally take shape. My next task is to find a way to break through to the next major realm of body cultivators." After Lu Kuan sealed the cave residence's restrictions, he walked towards the seclusion room in the depths of the cave residence. He had already made arrangements for the next 10 years of cultivation. Every day, apart from cultivating the Imperial Lightning Body Tempering Technique and nourishing my internal organs, the rest of the time is to cultivate the Spiritual Perception Technique. After martial Uncle Zhu improved this technique and cultivated it to the great success stage, it should be able to allow my spiritual energy to make a breakthrough. Also, I have to study the ancient core formation technique. Although there is still plenty of time, the sooner I have a clue about the core formation technique, the more time I have to prepare. Chapter 429. Spring passed and autumn came. In the third year of Lu Kuan's seclusion, the Zhao siblings finished refining their spiritual immortal treasures with the help of the treasure pavilion. They were Lu Kuan's disciples, and their methods of refining immortal treasures had naturally been inherited from their master's physical cultivation methods. With the super-sensitivity of their physical bodies and their powerful consciousness, they could already independently refine a set of spiritual immortal treasures. Zhao Qingtian's immortal treasure was an imitation of Lu Kuan's matchless cudgel. However, the main material was centuries-old ironwood. During this period, he also asked Qin Yushu for guidance on the miniature spirit design to strengthen the wood attribute paralysis power. As for Sher Chao, she refined 2 water attribute long swords. She mixed 2 pieces of 100-year-old cold jade in them. With the combination of a special technique and spiritual power, they could release ice attribute attack. With the help of these sets of immortal treasures, they could contend against a mid-foundation establishment cultivator even if they did not use their physical cultivator technique. If the 2 of them used their full strength, they could even suppress Zhu Xiaofeng, who was in the late foundation establishment stage. It was clear that physical cultivators were very strong. Moreover, they could adjust their facial muscles and change their appearance. Therefore, not long after the 2 finished refining their spiritual immortal treasures, they left Abyss Island and traveled to the surrounding overseas cultivation world and other places in the Xiuyuan state to see if they could find any opportunities. This was also encouraged by Lu Kuan. Physical cultivation was a new system. Many treasures that were helpful for refining one's body needed to be discovered. This could only be found by physical cultivators. Moreover, the Zhao siblings were still lacking in combat experience after reaching the foundation establishment stage. The more battles they encountered, the deeper their understanding of physical cultivators' techniques would be. Perhaps they could comprehend new combat technique. After the Zhao siblings left, the body refining pavilion's first generation of disciples was left with Yu Xian and 2 other mid-qi refining disciples. Yu Xian spent her days learning the art of refining and forging some conventional immortal treasures. The rest of her time was the same as Lu Kuan's, cultivating the spirit sensing technique. As for Huang Xiaoyun and little Pan Yen, after seeing their second senior brother and third senior sister travel to the nearby cultivation world, they cultivated even more desperately. The 2 of them seemed to yearn to go out on adventures alone. He couldn't wait to enter the foundation establishment stage. People in the body refining pavilion were focused on cultivating, and the atmosphere in the treasure tool pavilion was no less than theirs. Everyone was trying their best to improve their cultivation outside of the fixed tasks in the treasure tool pavilion. Zhu Xiaofeng's cultivation was the highest. With the help of some medicinal pills, he officially stepped into the great circle of the foundation establishment stage after a few years. Next were Lu Xiao and Du Ruoqiao, who continued to increase their foundation establishment stage mana. As for Qin Yushu, after he improved Nie Wufeng's cultivation technique and forged the pseudo-magical weapon, the 5-feathered universe saber, he also advanced by leaps and bounds and entered the middle stage of the foundation establishment realm. As the masters of the 4 peaks of the Yang clan, their aptitudes were naturally not bad. After experiencing the calamity of the extermination of their clan and various pursuits, it was no surprise that their cultivation had improved by leaps and bounds. Other than improving their cultivation, they also didn't give up the most important task in the treasure tool pavilion. With the help of Qin Yushu and the first generation of body cultivators, they forged many sets of high-quality magical weapons. Under the operation of Zhu Xiaofeng and the others, they were secretly thrown into the Abyss auction house. Perhaps because there were too many Foundation establishment stage cultivators on the Abyss Island, these high-quality magical weapons were auctioned off at a high price every time they appeared, allowing them to earn a lot of spirit stones. Although the interval between the auctions was long, they still disguised themselves every time. There were even a few times when they took the risk of having a great circle of the Qi refining stage cultivator like Yu Xian disguise herself to auction the magical weapons. They were very cautious. But just in case, Zhu Xiaofeng also visited the Abyss Pavilion's deacon a few times. One time, he even asked for Xiao Hongfei's help to go through the motions and let the people of the Abyss Pavilion investigate. Sure enough, when the Abyss Pavilion's deacon Su Ming sensed Xiao Hongfei's aura and terrifying spiritual sense that was much stronger than an ordinary early core formation stage cultivator, the last trace of doubt he had about the origins of the Treasure Tool Pavilion faded away. Only the large sects of other countries would casually send out core formation stage cultivators. As for the Abyss Pavilion's core formation stage deacon, after accidentally meeting Xiao Hongfei, he temporarily dismissed the idea of investigating the Treasure Tool Pavilion. This was also the reason why the Treasure Tool Pavilion didn't have anything special and didn't encroach on the interests of other merchants on the Abyss Island. This core formation stage cultivator didn't want to offend a core formation stage cultivator for such a small shop. Another 10 years passed. It was the 13th year of Lu Kuan's seclusion. The Zhao siblings returned to the Abyss Island. Apart from their auras becoming more stable, there were no other changes. On the other hand, Yu Xian had also cultivated the spirit perception art to minor completion. His spiritual sense had barely reached the level of early Foundation establishment stage. Although Lu Kuan hadn't come out of seclusion yet, with Zhao Qingtian around, he tried to break through to Foundation establishment stage. Yu Xian was extremely persistent and showed no mercy to his physical body. When he heard that the Zhao siblings were thrown into the 9 nether cauldron by their master to break through, he went into the furnace in the backyard of the Treasure Tool Pavilion. This made Zhao Qingtian very impressed. In order to help Yu Xian smoothly break through, he also went into the furnace. With the help of Zhao Qingtian's wood attribute magic and the earth fire, the strength of Yu Xian's, using wood to ignite fire, quenching body using elemental fire, even surpassed Lu Kuan's first Foundation establishment stage. Because he was different from the Zhao siblings and had never experienced liquid magic, it was very difficult for him to grasp the opportunity to condense. He stayed in the furnace for 3 days and 3 nights. In the end, he barely grasped the opportunity and successfully condensed the liquid, entering the Foundation establishment stage. In these 3 days and 3 nights, if it weren't for Zhao Qingtian's Foundation establishment stage magic to help him recover his physical body, Yu Xian would have died from the dual burning of the elemental fire and the earth fire on the first day. Such a long time allowed Yu Xian to have many opportunities to find the opportunity to condense the liquid. Although Zhao Qingtian was also unbearable in these 3 days, he found that when he helped Yu Xian break through, the wood attribute of the elemental fire catalyzed by Yu Xian's wood attribute also had a tempering effect on his physical body. Yu Xian's aptitude was relatively poor, but after entering the Foundation establishment stage with the elemental fire body tempering art, he immediately became the strongest person in the group. The explosive power and attack power of the fire attribute were stronger than the Zhao siblings. Moreover, when he entered the Foundation establishment stage, he tempered his physical body for 3 days and 3 nights. His foundation was stronger than Zhao Qingtian and the others. After entering the Foundation establishment stage, his strength reached 24,000 kilograms. However, after entering the Foundation establishment stage, Yu Xian didn't immediately refine his spiritual immortal treasure. This was because the Zhao siblings had chosen the form of their weapons under Lu Kuan's guidance. Therefore, he had to wait for Lu Kuan to finish his seclusion and choose for him. In these 10 years, Huang Xiaoyun and Little Pan Yen, had also entered the late qi refining stage with the help of the abundant spiritual qi and refining of their physical bodies. With the guidance of their senior martial brothers, they should be able to enter the great circle of the qi refining stage very soon. However, they cultivated the earth attribute and metal attribute body tempering art. They still needed Lu Kuan's guidance on how to break through to the foundation establishment stage. Just like this, another 2 years passed. On the 15th year, Lu Kuan's cave abode didn't show any signs of activity. It wasn't until the 17th year that a violent wave of magic power came from the cave abode. At the same time, a terrifying aura comparable to the core formation stage flashed past. Chapter 430. Deep Abyss Island. In a cultivation room deep within a cavern, there were many jade slips and talismans scattered on the floor. Lu Kuan stood in the middle of the room, his entire body emitting a faint purple light. He looked at his own body with excitement. Although he had speculated before, he was still quite surprised that he actually broke through to the late foundation establishment stage without any bottleneck. This showed that he had a deep understanding of the body refinement stage. According to his deduction, there shouldn't be too big of a mistake. It seems that the hardest part of the foundation establishment stage is the middle foundation establishment stage. Breaking through this bottleneck not only requires the help of dense spiritual energy, but also the shattering of the body's bones. If I can't control the magic power in my body and use my consciousness in that kind of pain, then it's very likely that I'll forever be stuck at the early foundation establishment stage. After entering the middle foundation establishment stage, a body cultivator's normal cultivation time will be much longer than other cultivators. During this time, I need to consolidate my foundation and slowly nourish my internal organs. If I rush forward, it will instead harm my internal organs. After muttering to himself, he began to examine his body. Now, in addition to his muscles, bones, and blood, even his internal organs had some magic power. After 17 years of continuous transformation by the lightning attribute magic power in his blood, his internal organs were strengthened to the point where they could barely contain magic power. The extra magic power was not small, directly allowing his body's magic power to reach the late foundation establishment stage. Moreover, in the past 17 years, his entire body had become even stronger under the transformation of his blood. Closing his eyes, Lu Kuan carefully felt the changes in his body through his nerves after the breakthrough. At the same time, his internal organs, muscles, bones, and blood were all slightly contracting under the control of his nerve. After the initial refinement of my internal organs, their endurance has greatly increased, further increasing my defensive power. Moreover, with the assistance of my internal organs, I can explode with greater power. Thump thump. A few heavy heartbeats sounded in this silent secret room. Then, Lu Kuan shouted loudly and his right fist suddenly hammered at the wall, flashing with the light of the restriction. Boom! The light of the restriction on the secret room flickered and actually dimmed a little. If other cultivators of the Abyss Island saw this, their eyeballs would have popped out. It must be known that Lu Kuan's immortal cave was located in the Third Ring district. The restrictive spells here could withstand the attacks of core formation stage cultivators. However, Lu Kuan's fist was able to cause the restrictive spells to flicker. It could be seen that the power of this bare-handed attack was astonishing. I didn't expect that my strength would increase so quickly after my entire body was tempered by the liquid magic power. Judging from the attack just now, I'm afraid that my greatest attack power has reached over 100,000 Jin. This level of strength is almost at the level of the core formation stage. Combined with my pseudo-magical treasure and the giant arm technique, I can definitely fight against an early-stage core formation cultivator with a magical treasure. And with the help of powerful internal organs, I will definitely be able to maintain my peak condition for a much longer period of time. I have the help of the hidden spiritual root. The spiritual sense of a core-bearing stage cultivator has no effect on me. Furthermore, my spiritual sense is only one step away from the core-bearing stage. It is extremely condensed. As he spoke, Lu Kuan touched the wooden bracelet on his wrist. If it weren't for the help of this wooden bracelet, I wouldn't have been able to reach my current level of spiritual sense. The cultivation of this soul-sensing technique is truly incomparably difficult. I really don't know how Martial Uncle Zhu and Martial Uncle Nia managed to cultivate it to the great circle of perfection. With the help of this mysterious wooden bracelet, I've cultivated for 17 years. I'm still one step away from the great circle of perfection. Furthermore, this bottleneck is extremely sturdy. There's no way to break through it in a short period of time. Then, Lu Kuan picked up the jade slips that were scattered on the ground one by one. He thought back to the derivations he had made in the past 10 years and sighed. This ancient method of core formation is indeed extremely difficult. It's a pity that body cultivators walk a completely different path from this ancient method. Only a few of the secret techniques and explanations of the essence of core formation within the jade slips were able to inspire me greatly. Lu Kuan revealed an inexplicable expression and muttered, "Body cultivators don't cultivate their dantian and meridians. It's impossible for them to be like other immortal cultivators and condense their body's mana into a golden core. There's simply no place to place this golden core. These 17 years haven't been wasted. Finally, I have a clear idea of how to reach core formation. However, to reach that step, I still have to wait until my internal organs are completely refined and my body is filled with mana." Then, Lu Kuan took out another jade slip and muttered, "Since I have a clear direction for the next great circle of perfection, then the system of body cultivators can be perfected for the time being. I wonder what Qing Tian and the others are at right now. I have to properly explain this system to them." With this thought, Lu Kuan walked out of the cavern and saw a few sound-transmitting glyph flashing within the sealed restriction. I almost forgot. I told them before that I would be in seclusion for 15 years. Now that I've added 2 years, they must be worried. Spiritual light flickered in his hand and sound-transmitting glyph after sound-transmitting glyph was sucked into his hand. He examined them one by one. Yu Xian has entered the foundation establishment stage and even burned in the furnace for 3 days and 3 nights. As expected, this guy is the most stubborn. He's even more ruthless than I was back then. Little Yun and Little Pan Yen have also reached the great circle of qi refining? That's right. In 17 years, with their aptitude and cultivation of the soul-sensing technique, they should be about at this stage. Huh? Senior Martial Brother Qin has entered the mid-foundation establishment stage. His cultivation speed is so fast. After looking through sound-transmitting glyph after sound-transmitting glyph, Lu Kuan also understood the situation outside. Overall, their strength was steadily increasing. When he heard the last sound-transmitting glyph, Lu Kuan's lips curled into a smile. I didn't think that Xiao Hongfei would be so impatient. He's urging me to refine a magic treasure for him. I'll leave him to dry first. Now that his strength had greatly increased, he had a lot more confidence in facing Xiao Hongfei. Then, Lu Kuan took out a sound-transmitting glyph. His lips moved slightly, and he threw the sound-transmitting glyph out. At the same time, in a cave close to Lu Kuan's, a graceful man held a 5-feathered magic fan in his hand. His body emitted wind, attribute magic power fluctuations. His eyes were fixed on a small whirlwind in front of him. He quickly threw the magic fan in his hand into the small whirlwind. Then, he muttered an incantation and cast one spell after another. Gradually, some green light appeared in the whirlwind. If one looked closely, they would discover that these green lights were wind blades. After these wind blades appeared, the small whirlwind immediately emitted a strong magic power fluctuation. This power fluctuation was not inferior to any mid-grade spell. After a while, the green-robed man formed a spell, and the small whirlwind gradually dissipated, revealing the green magic fan inside. The man sighed emotionally. When I reached the mid-foundation establishment stage, with the help of this pseudo-magic treasure, I was barely able to release the whirlwind technique that Master created. From this, it can be seen that Master's strength at the foundation establishment stage back then was not necessarily inferior to Lu Shidi. Just as the man was sighing with emotion, a sound-transmitting glyph appeared outside the cave's restriction. He sensed the familiar magic power aura from the sound-transmitting glyph and couldn't help but reveal a joyful expression. Could it be that Lu Shidi has come out of seclusion? He sent out a strand of spiritual power, and Lu Kuan's voice came from the sound-transmitting glyph. Senior Martial Brother Qin, congratulations on your successful breakthrough. Junior Martial Brother's seclusion this time was also quite successful. However, in the next month, I will have to share my insights with a few disciples. I'll have to trouble Senior Martial Brother to tell Xiao Hongfei that I will refine a magic treasure for him in a month. The green-robed man clenched his fist. Haha, if that's the case, Lu Shidi has also broken through. Our strength has increased by quite a bit. As for Xiao Hongfei, he has already waited for 17 years. He should be able to afford to wait for a month. The man pondered again, but still shook his head and said, "Forget it, I'll make a trip personally." Chapter 431. On the second day after Lu Kuan came out of seclusion, there were 6 people, or rather, 5 people and 1 monkey, sitting upright in his cave. Including the little monkey, they all had serious expressions as they listened to Lu Kuan talk about something. Although I created the body tempering technique by chance and have cultivated to this level for decades, the true cultivation system of the body tempering technique is only now beginning to take shape. Seeing the confusion on the faces of the disciples below, Lu Kuan explained, although the body tempering technique can be divided according to the traditional qi refinement, foundation establishment and core formation stages, there are still differences. I'll start with the qi refinement stage. Traditional qi refinement cultivators cultivate the basic 5 elements cultivation technique. The first 3 levels are to generate some magic power in the body, expand the meridians and dantian, and slowly strengthen the spiritual power in an attempt to generate the power of divine sense. At this time, the qi refinement cultivators are weak, and stronger mortal martial artists can even kill them. At the 4th level of the basic cultivation technique, they enter the middle qi refinement stage. At this time, the qi refinement cultivators have strength that far surpasses mortal martial artists. In the face of the simplest fireball technique, even a super expert among mortals would immediately turn into ashes. At this point, Lu Kuan couldn't help but think of Ling Yuetian, the senior who created the Vajra esoteric art. The Vajra esoteric art of the body tempering technique completely corresponds to the first 3 levels of the basic cultivation technique. Traditional qi refinement cultivators expand the meridians and dantian, while we develop the physical body. We use spirit energy to cleanse the body from the inside out, opening the door to the body tempering technique. After the first 3 levels of the 5 elements cultivation technique are cultivated, one will enter the middle qi refinement stage. After the Vajra esoteric art is completed, one will be able to convert magic power in the body and have the same level of magic power. However, after the Vajra esoteric art is completed, there is only a certain chance of the cultivator awakening the power of divine sense. Fortunately, thanks to Martial Uncle Zhu, there is a secret technique called the spirit sensing technique. Over the years, I have already modified part of the spirit sensing technique into the Vajra esoteric art. In the future, when you cultivate this new version of the Vajra esoteric art, as long as you reach the realm, you will have the divine sense of the middle qi refinement stage. This modified Vajra arts is the entry-level cultivation method of body cultivation. This realm is the entry level of body cultivation. I've already recorded it in this jade slip. As he spoke, a jade slip appeared in Lu Kuan's hand. He solemnly placed it on the wooden table in front of him and said in a deep voice, I've also recorded Senior Ling Yuetian's creation of the Vajra esoteric art in this jade slip. In the future, every body cultivator who practices the entry-level cultivation method will know of this senior's contributions. They will also know that us body cultivators are treated like demon beast materials by some evil cultivators with special cultivation method. This will make them maintain a certain level of vigilance against traditional cultivators. The disciples below all revealed solemn expressions. Lu Kuan had told them about Ling Yuetian's deeds after discovering Ling Yuetian's refined corpse. It could be said that without this senior's creation, there would not be so many foundation establishment stage body cultivators today. Lu Kuan was silent for a while, then continued, The basic cultivation method of traditional cultivators is completely the cultivation method of gaseous magical power. All the way up to the 13th level of Qi refinement, it is the cultivation of gaseous magical power in the body to prepare for the liquid magical power of the foundation establishment stage. But us body cultivators are a little different. After entering the entry-level cultivation method, we will practice body cultivation methods of various attribute. For example, the 5 of you have respectively practiced body cultivation methods of the 5 attributes of metal, wood, water, fire, and earth. Master, by chance, created a body cultivation method of a different attribute. In the future, Shui may also create an ice attribute body cultivation method. Huang Xiaoyun asked curiously, Master, then what about senior brother? What attribute body cultivation method does senior brother cultivate? Before Lu Kuan could answer, little Pan Yen spoke up, Senior apprentice brother, how did you become so stupid? Eldest senior apprentice brother obviously cultivates the demonic beast body tempering art. That's right. Lu Kuan smiled and shook his head. He did not explain Xiao Jin's situation anymore, and said, What is different from traditional cultivators is that their basic cultivation methods are only cultivated to the peak of the Qi refinement stage, but our body cultivation methods are cultivated all the way to the Great Circle of Foundation establishment stage. Looking at the puzzled expressions of the disciples, Lu Kuan explained, I have divided the body cultivation methods into several stages. The first stage is muscle refining. Its beginning stage is when you have just formed the magical power of your muscles and entered the middle stage of the Qi refinement stage. This stage, from beginning to end, is tempering the flesh and muscles. The original spiritual energy tempering becomes magical power tempering. Reaching the Great Circle of muscle refining is equivalent to reaching the Great Circle of weapon refining. At this time, the places where the two have to break through are completely similar. Both are condensing gaseous magical power into liquid. Hearing this, the Zhao siblings nodded their heads. They had once advanced to the foundation establishment stage with their basic cultivation method. Although the cultivation methods of the two were completely different, the ultimate goal was to sublimate gaseous magical power into liquid magical power. After the traditional cultivators have liquid magical power in their bodies, they are called foundation establishment stage cultivators. At this time, they need to change their cultivation method. The previous basic cultivation methods are unable to use the liquid magical power in their bodies. However, us body cultivators still cultivate the basic cultivation methods. It's just that from the first stage of muscle refining, we have stepped into the second stage, bone tempering. The disciples below murmured and repeated, bone tempering. Lu Kuan looked at the 3 disciples who had succeeded in foundation establishment and said, Qing Tian, Shui Yu Xian, the 3 of you have successfully condensed the liquid and entered the foundation establishment stage. No, it should be said that you have entered the bone-tempering realm of body cultivators. This stage is to use the large amount of liquid magical power in your muscles to temper your bones. Of course, in this stage, the liquid magical power will continue to temper your muscles. The bone-tempering realm corresponds to the early stage of foundation establishment. A person's bones are naturally stronger than their muscles. Therefore, body cultivators can only cultivate liquid magical power to temper it. When the bone-tempering realm is completed, the bones will be filled with liquid magical power. At that time, one can break through to the next stage. Lu Kuan said somewhat emotionally, "This is the stage that I spent so much effort to break through on the Demon Island, blood condensation." Blood condensation? The disciples below were all puzzled. Muscle refining and bone tempering were easy to understand. They were all using magical power to repeatedly temper the body. But what did blood condensation mean? Lu Kuan's expression became serious and said, "This blood condensation realm is the most important part of the basic cultivation methods of body refinement. You must remember the following words." Seeing that the disciples were all looking at him seriously, Lu Kuan said, "In the past 10 years, other than deducing more profound stages, I have also repeatedly pondered over this body refinement realm that is equivalent to the middle stage of foundation establishment for ordinary cultivators. In this stage, the liquid magical power will enter the deep marrow cavity of the bones. Under the influence of the liquid magical power, it will gradually produce fresh blood that contains magical power. You must know that blood flows throughout the body. With this blood that contains magical power, every part of the body will slowly be transformed. It is equivalent to retempering the body once more, laying a solid foundation for future breakthroughs. And most importantly, only with this blood magical power will the internal organs in the body be able to store magical power. You must know that the internal organs are incomparably fragile. Apart from nourishing them with blood, there are no other methods to strengthen them. Therefore, this stage requires an extremely long time to cultivate. It can only be done step by step. The disciples below all engraved this point in their minds. However, although this blood condensation realm requires an extremely long time, the internal organs will naturally enter the next stage under the slow nourishment of the magical power. Chapter 432. Zhao Qingtian couldn't help but ask, "Master, you're currently at late foundation establishment. Does that mean you've reached the viscera forging stage?" Lu Kuan nodded, "That's right. But Master, you've only spent 17 years. The blood condensation stage doesn't last long." Lu Kuan smiled, "I'll answer this question after I finish talking about the stages." He continued, "The viscera forging stage is very easy to understand. It's just like muscle refining and bone tempering. Using magic power to temper the body, it gradually allows the body to contain more magic power. When the internal organs have been tempered to the great perfection stage, your magic power will have reached the peak of late foundation establishment. Therefore, the viscera forging stage is completely equivalent to a traditional cultivator's late foundation establishment stage. And following that is the final stage of body refinement. No, it should be called the final stage. This stage is the great perfection stage of body tempering. At this stage, the body and magic power shouldn't increase anymore. However, the liquid magic power in the body will flow without stagnation through the muscles, bones, blood, and internal organs in preparation for the next stage. The great perfection stage of body tempering is equivalent to the great perfection stage of foundation establishment. Speaking to this point, Lu Kuan took out a jade slip and struck it with his spirit power. The jade slip emitted rays of light, forming lines of text in the air. Body cultivation entry stage, Vajra arts. First 3 layers of qi condensation, basic 5 elements cultivation method. Muscle refining stage, basic body cultivation method. 4th to 13th layers of qi condensation, basic 5 elements cultivation method. Bone tempering stage, basic body cultivation method. Early foundation establishment stage cultivation method. Blood condensation stage, basic body cultivation method. Middle foundation establishment stage cultivation method. Viscera forging stage, basic body cultivation method. Late foundation establishment stage cultivation method. Great perfection body tempering stage, basic body cultivation method. Great perfection foundation establishment stage cultivation method. After listening to Lu Kuan's explanation and looking at these words, Zhao Qingtian and the other first-generation body cultivators had a clear understanding of the divisions of the body refining realms. Combining their own cultivation process, they more or less had their own insight. Lu Kuan was also looking at the words in the air. His eyes flashed. Since then, he could be considered to have established the body cultivation system. After all, other than creating cultivation methods, there was also a clear division of realms. Only then could it be considered a cultivation system. Lu Kuan continued after half a day, when the disciples had finished their deliberations. Qingtian, Schwerer, and Yu Xian have all entered the bone honing stage. I've tested their strength level, as well as Little Yun and Little Pan Yin. Combined with my judgment, there are different standards for body cultivators at each stage. Seeing that all the disciples were looking at him, Lu Kuan said, I won't talk about the entry stage of body cultivation. When the 5 of you reached the great circle of muscle refining, your strength reached 10,000 jin. Therefore, ordinary body cultivators, no matter how poor their spiritual roots are, as long as they reach the great circle of muscle refining, they will have a physical strength of 10,000 jin. And when you reach the bone honing stage, which is when your magic power becomes liquid, your strength will double, reaching 20,000 jin. According to this, in addition to my judgment of cultivation, in the blood condensation stage, you will have a physical strength of 30,000 jin. In the viscera forging stage, you will have a physical strength of over 50,000 jin. After Zhao Qingtian heard this, he immediately asked, But Master, when you were in the early foundation establishment stage, no, the bone honing stage, you had a physical strength of 50,000 jin. What is the reason for this? The other disciples also nodded. They also had the same question. Lu Kuan looked at the disciples below and explained, There are 2 aspects to this. The first aspect is related to refinement. For traditional cultivators, such as Martial Uncle Nye Wufeng, he recultivated to the foundation establishment stage. His wind attribute magic power is incomparably pure. Even if he were to face a wind attribute enemy of the same level, he would still be able to win. He relies on pure magic power that has been refined twice. Like Xiao Hongfei and senior brother Qin, they are both traditional cultivators who have refined their magic power. Of course, they are stronger than ordinary cultivators. We body cultivators are the same. Lu Kuan recalled the past few years and said with emotion, You all know that I once fell from the bone honing stage to the muscle refining stage. Later, I changed my cultivation method and used the Imperial Thunder body tempering art to re-enter the bone honing stage. It was equivalent to refining my physical body twice. My foundation is strong. Therefore, after entering the bone honing stage for the second time, my physical strength greatly increased. Yu Xian's strength also increased because she repeatedly tempered her body when she broke through. Saying this, Lu Kuan saw the shining eyes of the disciples below. His tone became serious. Body cultivators are different from traditional cultivators. After refining your physical body once, if you want to break through again, the bottleneck will increase exponentially. More difficult breakthroughs mean that you will need more external strength. If you are not careful, you may even die. It is extremely dangerous. Moreover, even if a body cultivator has no magic power, it is almost impossible to regress their physical body. A beautiful figure flashed across Lu Kuan's mind. His complexion changed a little. He shook his head and continued to speak. He shook his head and said, "The second aspect is the problem of body cultivator aptitude." The body cultivator disciples all looked puzzled. Body cultivator aptitude? Don't cultivators look at spirit root aptitude? Lu Kuan said, "For body cultivators, it is a little different. Spirit root aptitude determines the speed of cultivation. However, there is another aptitude that determines a body cultivator's combat strength. People with such aptitude will surpass other body cultivators in some aspects. This aptitude is constitution." Constitution? Lu Kuan nodded and said, "According to the information I learned on Demon Island, I have some kind of ancient demonic ape bloodline. This bloodline gives me greater strength. In addition, I have recultivated, so my strength far exceeds that of ordinary body cultivators. I also relied on the power of this bloodline to enter the viscera forging stage in such a short time. And among you, Little Yun and Little Pan Yen also have special constitutions." When Yu Xian heard this, she suddenly said, "Little Yun has the demonic golden body that Master spoke of. Back then, the demonic qi could not enter his body. He and his father were unable to cultivate other cultivation methods to higher realms because of this constitution." That's right, the demonic golden body. The magic power cultivated by the demonic qi has an extremely strong restraining power. Then, when a body cultivator's body is transformed by magic power, Little Yun will definitely have an innate advantage against a devil cultivator in the future. Huang Xiaoyun was so happy that he couldn't stop chuckling. His eyeballs were rolling around as if he was thinking of something. Lu Kuan ignored Huang Xiaoyun and continued to look at Little Pan Yen. Little Pan Yen had already grown into a strong youth. It was unknown whether it was because he was always hammering away at refining materials, but his body was the most tall and sturdy among the group. Compared to him, even Lu Kuan was a size smaller. This brat Pan Yen has the solid earth body. It will greatly increase the power of his earth attribute magic power. When Pan Yen heard this, he laughed happily. In the early years, Lu Kuan had already told him about this constitution. After listening to Lu Kuan's explanation, the Zhao siblings were somewhat jealous. Although their spiritual aptitudes were good, they didn't have any special constitutions, so their combat strength was somewhat weak. After Yu Xian heard this, she didn't have much of a reaction. Ever since she was young, she had been told that her spiritual aptitude was poor. After experiencing her dantian being destroyed and switching to body cultivation, she no longer cared about her aptitude. She knew that only by working hard could her cultivation steadily increase. After Lu Kuan finished explaining the body cultivation system, he sighed and said, "This is only my summary. In the future, as you cultivate, it is very likely that you will have new discoveries. If you want to truly perfect this system, you will have to rely on all of us." Chapter 433. Master, since you've already sorted out the body cultivation system, have you already deduced the corresponding body cultivation realm for the core formation stage? Zhao Qingtian's mind was relatively quick. Combined with Lu Kuan's previous words, he felt that his master had already figured out the method for the next realm. Lu Kuan smiled and said, "That's right. I already have a clear direction for the next realm. But now is not the time to tell you. Wait until you enter the blood condensation stage, then I'll tell you." Also, whether or not this method will work is still unknown. But at least one thing is for sure. After entering this realm, the strength of a body cultivator will definitely surpass those of the same level. Normal early-stage core formation cultivators are no match for a body cultivator of this realm. Looking at the fascinated faces of the disciples below, Lu Kuan continued, "Now, what you all need to do is to build a solid foundation in the foundational cultivation method stage of body cultivation. Traditional cultivators call this realm the foundation establishment stage. For us body cultivators, the muscle refining, bone tempering, blood condensation, and viscera forging stages are also the most important stages of the foundation establishment stage. Only by laying a solid foundation at this stage can you break through to the next realm. Also, you must remember that aside from cultivating, you can't give up on the art of refining. I've already revised the 10 years to learn the art of refining. Before you reach the great circle of body tempering, the two of you must be able to refine a pseudo-magic treasure. Only then will you meet the requirements for this stage of refining. When the disciples heard this, they all revealed bitter expressions. Only Zhao Qingtian's eyes lit up as if he understood something. He said seriously, "Master, don't worry. I will explain this to my seniors in the treasure pavilion." Okay, now let's talk about the problems you've encountered in your cultivation. I'll use the rest of the time to clear up your doubts. After seeing that these disciples had a complete understanding of the body cultivation system, Lu Kuan began to clear up the doubts they had in their cultivation. As the creator of these body cultivation systems, Lu Kuan had also undergone body cultivation. He had also comprehended a body cultivation system with a different attribute, so he was able to clear up most of their doubts. But after all, each person had their own cultivation system. It was impossible for Lu Kuan to completely understand all of the cultivation system's problems. Even he couldn't immediately answer some of these disciples' questions. Fortunately, there were a total of 6 body cultivators. Under his guidance, they discussed and slowly solved these problems. Even Lu Kuan had gained something from the discussion with his disciples, not to mention Zhao Qingtian and the others, who had gained even more. The discussion lasted for more than half a month before it ended. After it was over, Lu Kuan said with some emotion, "It seems that we body cultivators have to set a rule. That is, every 10 years we will have a body cultivator discussion like this." In the past, in the Yuyang sect, there was a tradition of exchanging cultivation experiences every once in a while. As a new cultivation system that has not yet been perfected, this is even more important. Qingtian, remember this? Yes, Master. Yu Xian asked, That's right, Master. Qingtian and Shuer both chose their weapons according to your instructions. What kind of spiritual immortal treasure should I refine? Hearing this, Lu Kuan thought for a moment, then patted the storage pouch at his waist. Instantly, a large, fiery red hammer appeared in his hand. He said, "This level 3 spiritual immortal treasure, Fire Hammer, is very suitable for your fire attribute body enhancing art." After tossing it to Yu Xian, Lu Kuan said, "Use this immortal treasure as a prototype. You can also break down its materials and refine a complete set of Fire Hammer immortal treasures. Remember, your primordial fire body cultivation technique only focuses on offense. Apart from increasing your strength, you must also fully utilize the characteristics of the fire attribute." Yu Xian received the immortal treasure excitedly and nodded heavily. After giving Yu Xian this level 3 spiritual immortal treasure from the Yi clan, Lu Kuan seemed to have thought of something. He looked at his 2 little disciples, Huang Xiaoyun and Pan Yin. Huang Xiaoyun had already grown up. His angular face and firm muscles, if it weren't for his crafty eyes, he would have won the hearts of many female cultivators. As for Pan Yin, apart from his personality, his appearance was completely different from his stooped and wretched father, Pan Shu. Not only was he tall and burly, but he also had a very simple and honest face. One look and you could tell he was a reliable person. After 17 years of cultivation, the two of them had not only reached the great circle of qi refining, which was the great circle of muscle refining, but their divine sense had also reached the small circle of success under the continuous cultivation of the soul sensing technique. They now had the divine sense power of the foundation establishment stage. After carefully examining Pan Yan's body, Lu Kuan's face revealed some surprise. He muttered to himself for a moment, then said, "Qingtian, when you helped Yu Xian break through to foundation establishment, you discovered that your body refining cultivation had also improved. Zhao Qingtian said, "Yes, it seems that after my wood attribute and fourth junior brother's primordial fire combined, its power was stronger than that of an ordinary foundation establishment stage primordial fire. In those 3 days and 3 nights, my physical body also improved." Lu Kuan nodded and said, "Using wood to ignite the fire itself will increase the power of the flame. How about this, you and Yu Xian use the combined flames to help your little junior brother break through to foundation establishment." Zhao Qingtian said somewhat tongue-tied, "With me and fourth junior brother's primordial fire combined, even with my wood attribute mana helping him recover, little junior brother won't be able to handle it." Lu Kuan smiled and said, "Don't worry, go ahead and give it a try. After the body of solid earth cultivates the earth body refining technique, its defensive power is much stronger than you think. But what I'm worried about is that this kid has a strong brain and will probably need to spend 7 days and 7 nights to find that sliver of opportunity." Zhao Qingtian and Yu Xian looked at each other, secretly swallowed a mouthful of saliva, and nodded with difficulty. Actually, when Lu Kuan said that Pan Yen could handle it, they naturally wouldn't doubt it, but their mana might not be able to last that long. Lu Kuan comforted them, "In a moment, I will help little Yun break through. You guys can do it in my abode. With me taking care of you, there won't be any problems. You guys don't need the 9 nether cauldron, just go to my practice room." "That's right, Shui Air, you should also go. You also know the intermediate ice attribute magic, so help your little junior brother break through together. Also, the combination of your water attribute mana and Qing Tian's attribute mana will have a better recovery effect." Seeing their master's attitude, completely treating little Pan Yan's defensive power as a bone-tempering stage body cultivator, Zhao Qingtian and the others were filled with curiosity about this body of solid earth. They immediately brought the giggling Big Pan Yen to the depths of Lu Kuan's abode. After seeing the other disciples leave, Huang Xiaoyun said with emotion, "Senior brothers, you guys will be able to feel little Pan Yan's abnormal defensive power in a moment." Lu Kuan said with a deep expression, "Because of this body of solid earth, little Pan Yan's defensive power at the great circle of muscle tempering is now a bit stronger than when I first entered the bone tempering stage. Fortunately, with Qing Tian and the other 2 working together, there shouldn't be any problems." After saying this, Lu Kuan looked at Huang Xiaoyun and said with a smile, "Little Yun, I know you want to go out adventuring the most. But remember, this demonic gold body can't be known by demonic cultivators. Otherwise, there will definitely be core formation demonic cultivators hunting you down." Huang Xiaoyun laughed mischievously and said, "Master, you still don't know my temperament. How could I be so ostentatious?" Lu Kuan thought about those years when he brought Huang Xiaoyun and Pan Yen to intercept and kill demonic cultivators. He nodded with relief and summoned the 9 nether cauldron, saying, "You are now in a good state. Master will help you break through the muscle tempering stage and enter the bone tempering stage." Chapter 434. 10 days later, in Lu Kuan's cave, the Zhao siblings and Yu Xian sat cross-legged outside the practice room with exhausted expressions. They looked ahead in amazement, their eyes full of wonder. Zhao Qingtian muttered, "Junior brother's body of solid earth is so terrifying. An ordinary foundation establishment cultivator's true fire won't be able to help him break through." Sher Chow's face was pale. She rubbed her temples and said with a headache, "It's lucky that junior brother's muscles can withstand our torment. But by the time we've exhausted our true fire, this guy still hasn't grasped the opportunity." Yu Xian heard this and said tiredly, "It's because junior brother's muscles are so strong that his senses are a bit slow. Fortunately, Master went in to replace us. There shouldn't be any problems." Beside the 3 stood a resolute and handsome young man. It was Huang Xiaoyun, who had broken through and entered the bone tempering stage. he said with a strange expression. According to junior brother's situation, he can only rely on master's help to break through to the blood condensation stage. At that time, his bone's defense will be even stronger. Zhao Qingtian and the others nodded silently. After experiencing Pan Yan's powerful defense, they realized how terrifying the body of solid earth was after cultivating the Yuan earth body refining art. Xiao Jin also had a strange expression. It had experienced a breakthrough to the blood condensation stage. If Pan Yan's bone defense was stronger than Lu Kuan's, it would be troublesome. Just as they were thinking, a heavy aura spread out from the practice room. A junior brother broke through? Yes, this is the aura of liquid true fire. It took 10 days. It seems that junior brother's future breakthroughs won't be so easy. After another day, the door of the training room opened. Lu Kuan walked out with Pan Yan with a thoughtful look on his face. After such a long breakthrough, Pan Yan's body had fluctuations of liquid true fire, but he looked extremely tired. He had been ravaged for 10 days. Even if he broke through, the mental exhaustion was unavoidable. Junior brother, congratulations. You've finally broken through. Pan Yan scratched his head and said embarrassedly, I've troubled you, senior brothers. It's my fault for being a bit slow. If it wasn't for master's help, it would have taken me a few more days. Lu Kuan came back to his senses and said coldly, Kid, if you can't grasp this opportunity, I'll have to bombard you with thunder spells later. However, when I was helping you break through, I suddenly thought of something very interesting. The disciples looked at Lu Kuan curiously. I'm cultivating a body cultivation technique with multiple attributes. You're both cultivating a single attribute, so you're able to bring out the full potential of this single attribute. If you join forces and form something similar to a joint attack formation, I'm afraid you'll be able to easily resist immortal cultivators whose cultivation bases are much higher than yours. Seeing the disciples' puzzled expressions, Lu Kuan explained, If the 5 of you work together to fight against a foundation establishment cultivator, you can win. Pan Yan is mainly in charge of defense and blocking the enemy's attack. Little Yun and Yu Xian are in charge of offense. Qing Tian and Shui, in addition to supporting attacks, can disrupt the enemy's rhythm. If someone is injured, you can even help them recover. With Lu Kuan's explanation, the disciples understood. Their master meant to combine their strength. Stacking them together, they would be able to explode with great power. However, there are 5 of you. If you want to truly unleash great power, you not only need to work together, but also need to refer to some immortal cultivator formation book. Qing Tian, go back and tell senior martial brother Qin and the others to try to find some related formations. After seeing Zhao Qingtian write it down, Lu Kuan looked at Huang Xiaoyun, who had just advanced to the bone tempering stage. He took out a jade slip from his storage bag and threw it to Huang Xiaoyun. This is the refining method of the golden flywheel, senior martial brother Ye's complete set of magic tools. Lu Kuan sighed. At that time, senior martial brother Yi split up and fled. Although his one-time flight magic tool was amazing, he still had demonic qi in his body. Facing a core formation stage cultivator at the miraculous gate, I'm afraid it bodes ill for him. You only need to modify the shape of this golden flywheel and make it suitable for body cultivators. Pan Yan immediately asked, Master, what about mine? Lu Kuan chuckled. Spirit light flashed in his hand and 2 black shields larger than an ordinary person appeared on the ground. They were covered with sharp thorns and looked incomparably ferocious. This pair of black gold shields is my spoils of war from the Shangqing sect battlefield. They have only been used once or twice for defense. Now it seems that this set of defensive magic tools is very suitable for you, Pan Yan. Zhao Qingtian and the others looked at the 2 huge shields and combined them with Pan Yan's own defensive power and body shape. They nodded in agreement. Pan Yan was even more excited. Haha, master, you know me too well. I want this kind of magic tool. I will modify it later to make it display the greatest power of the earth attribute. After helping Xiao Hongfei refine the magic tool, I will go to the sea. Yu Xian, you and Xiao Yun can go travel after refining the magic tools. On the one hand, you can increase your combat experience. On the other hand, you may find some useful treasures for body cultivators. Okay, you can go out. By the way, Qingtian, this time I will take Little Gray with me. Tell this little guy. Yes, master. Lu Kuan looked at their departing figures and his eyes flashed. This is the first generation of body cultivators. If Ancestor Fang's island is really as he described, body cultivators will definitely have a great development. But the second generation of disciples can't be anxious. At least wait until I enter the next big realm. Qingtian and the others also need to improve their cultivation and have high-end combat power. Only then can they set a goal for the next generation of disciples. In terms of disciple selection, it is completely different from traditional sections. Spirit root aptitude is not the most important part. We can use that method to find them. After thinking about it, Lu Kuan looked at Xiao Jin and said, Xiao Jin, this time we go out, let's go to Dahe first and then look for Ancestor Fang's island. Creak creak. At this moment, a voice transmission talisman came from outside the cave abode. Sensing the dermic power fluctuations on it, Lu Kuan chuckled and sent it over. After listening attentively, Lu Kuan said helplessly, This Xiao Hongfei's timing is so accurate. Moreover, he has already prepared everything in Senior Brother Qin's cave abode. Now that Senior Brother Qin and my strength has increased a lot, and Xiao Hongfei is also here, refining shouldn't be a problem. Moreover, refining magic tools is also very useful for body cultivators in the next realm. Xiao Jin, you have to see the refining process. Chapter 435. Among the few neighboring kingdoms, only the state of Chu had such a vast ocean filled with all kinds of spirit veins and islands. Although its neighbor, the state of Qi, was close to the ocean, its ocean was filled with a deathly stillness. In the Qi country's sea, there was almost no spiritual energy. Many people called the sea region near the Qi country the Dead Sea. The Dead Sea was extremely vast, and only a few ordinary fish lived in its waters. Weaker cultivators would not be able to fly to the end of the Dead Sea if they did not have enough spirit stones to replenish their energy. It was rumored that only nascent soul stage cultivators could fly to the end of the Dead Sea if they had enough spirit stones. However, this nascent soul stage cultivator was attacked by several level 8 demonic beasts at the end of the Dead Sea. He escaped with serious injuries, and was almost unable to return to the mainland because he did not have enough spiritual stones. Since then, cultivators knew that the end of the Dead Sea was the deep sea region filled with high-level demonic beasts. Since then, no one was interested in the Dead Sea anymore. Other than the Dead Sea, the Qi country also had a sea region near the Chu country. This sea region was only about 1,000 miles wide, and was much narrower than the Dead Sea. It was slightly better than the Dead Sea as it contained spiritual energy. However, other than spiritual energy, it was also filled with demonic and demonic energies. These energies were mixed together and were extremely chaotic. Moreover, on this sea region, there would occasionally be storms of these three energies. Normal core formation stage cultivators would be in danger of dying if they encountered them. Faced with such chaotic energies, neither demonic beasts nor cultivators could cultivate here. The nearby cultivators called it the Chaotic Sea. The Chaotic Sea was similar to the Dead Sea in that it extended into the depths of the sea region. As for the depths of the sea region, cultivators did not need to investigate to know that it was the deep sea region and that there were many high-level demonic beasts. Therefore, cultivators did not investigate this region. At this moment, outside the Chaotic Sea, at the edge of the Dead Sea, 3 cultivators appeared out of thin air. The one in the lead had a middle-aged face and a slightly aged face. His expression carried a hint of evil. His aura was somewhat strange. He did not seem to be in the core formation stage, but he could easily fly in the air. The other two looked similar. They were about 50 years old and their magic power was extremely dense. They were both in the core formation stage. One of the elders, who looked slightly older, looked around and asked doubtfully, "Brother Tion, is this the place you were talking about?" The one he called Brother Tion was a middle-aged man with a somewhat evil aura. This, Brother Tion, suddenly closed his eyes, and a faint black light flashed on his hand, as if he was carefully sensing something. The other elder looked at the middle-aged man quietly. There was some hostility in his eyes. The middle-aged man suddenly opened his eyes and looked at the elder. He chuckled and said, "The two of you, don't worry. I have already sensed that place. It is under the Death Sea nearby. Or at the bottom of the sea. Are we going to search the seabed again? This consumes quite a bit of magic power." The middle-aged man said, "That's right, it's at the bottom of the sea." The younger elder snorted and said, "Tion Renjie, previously in the chaotic ocean, you also asked us to go down to the sea to search, but we didn't find anything. This time, are you sure you can do it?" The middle-aged man looked at him indifferently, and a purple light flashed in his eyes. He said, "What, the famous Lee brothers of the Red Refining sect don't even have this bit of patience? You?" The older elder pressed his younger brother's shoulder and said in a deep voice, "Brother Tion said that we need to find that area. We will do our best to find it. After all, we have been searching in this area for several years. We don't lack time." Big Brother Lee knows his limit. "But don't worry, I have already left a blood oath on your oath stone and joined the Red Refining sect. Everything I am doing now is for the sect." The eldest brother nodded and said, "Martial Uncle has already explained to us. However, my younger brother and junior brother, you have a good personal relationship." He attributed his death to Brother Tion. "In addition, we have been searching for him all these years without any result. Naturally, he has some complaints about Brother Tion." The middle-aged man said disdainfully, "Don't you know that only when someone in the core formation stage is sacrificed can the 10 great sects completely relax their vigilance against our sect?" It turned out that these people were the resurrected Tion Renjie of the Red Refining sect, and the Lee brothers in the sect whose cultivation was second only to the nascent soul stage cultivators. From the way the Lee brothers addressed him, it could be seen that this Tion Renjie had the same status as the core formation stage cultivators in the sect. The Lee brothers could be considered famous in the country of Chu. The two of them cultivated the crimson demonic art to the middle core formation stage. When the two of them worked together, they could easily defeat a late core formation stage cultivator. Seeing the unwillingness in the eyes of the two old brothers, Tion Renjie continued, "The place I am looking for is very important to our sect. It can allow us to have another secret stronghold. From now on, all disciples who cultivate the crimson demonic art will go into seclusion here." Hearing this, the eldest brother frowned and said, "We have been searching for so long. Brother Tion only told us that it was a place covered by a formation. He didn't tell us the situation of this place." Tion Renjie chuckled and said, "So Brother Lee wants to know the situation of this place. I can tell you, it is an underwater demonic abyss." The two old men were stunned and said in disbelief, "Could it be a secret place filled with demonic chi?" Seeing their expressions, Tion Renjie's eyes flashed with a trace of disdain. He continued, "That's right. It is because this demonic abyss is covered by a huge formation. Moreover, there are no cultivators in this part of the Dead Sea. No one dived to the bottom of the sea to investigate, so it was never discovered. A few years ago, I showed you the improved Crimson Demonic Art. Although the two of you cultivate the Crimson Demonic Art, as long as you have enough demonic chi and the blood essence of cultivators of the same level as you, it is very possible for you to successfully change your cultivation. As for the two of you who cultivate the Crimson Demonic Art, you have the opportunity to enter the nascent soul stage and enjoy a lifespan of 1,000 years. At this point, the Li brothers' eyes were already shining. Although the two of them were quite famous in the country of Chu, only they knew that their cultivation could no longer advance. Especially in recent years, when they heard Tian Renjie, who was possessed by an ancient demonic cultivator, say that the crimson demonic art was a cultivation method that cut off their cultivation path, they became even more desperate. Now that they heard that their cultivation method could be changed to the crimson demonic art, they suddenly felt hopeful. The hatred that the second brother of the Li family originally had towards Tian Renjie completely disappeared after hearing this. Compared to advancing to the nascent soul stage, his friendship with Junior Yu was not worth mentioning. Tian Renjie slightly raised the corner of his mouth and said, "Then, Brother Li, can we start searching? Okay, we will go down now." Yes, the three of us will follow 3 directions and search north on the seabed. According to my secret technique, that place should be under the Dead Sea within 100 miles. Chapter 436. Outside of Chu's territory, outside of Abyss Island, there was a light purple spirit shuttle flying towards the depths of the sea. A tall and sturdy man with thick eyebrows, large eyes, short hair and a square face stood on the shuttle. The man was controlling the spirit shuttle, and his body emitted powerful magic power of the late Foundation establishment stage. Inside the spirit shuttle, there were 2 demon beasts playing around. One was a yellow little monkey, and the other was a silver leopard. The little monkey didn't emit any aura, and looked just like an ordinary wild monkey. The leopard emitted the spiritual power of a second-level demon beast. It looked at the little monkey with a hint of defiance, as if the little monkey's cultivation was stronger than it. They were Lu Kuan, Xiao Jin, and Little Gray, who had left Abyss Island. Lu Kuan's trip this time wasn't just to investigate the island that Ancestor Fong told them about, but also to take a trip to the Dahe, the habitat of the Black Mountain ape. Therefore, in addition to Xiao Jin, he also brought Little Gray. After all, they were going to the demon beast's territory. Although the Dahe said that he had the bloodline of the ancient demon ape, the Black Mountain apes wouldn't harm him. In case the demon apes were hostile, Little Gray, a demon beast that hadn't signed a contract with him, could at least be of some use. Moreover, in the demon beast's territory, Little Gray might have some benefit. As for the location of the Black Mountain apes, Lu Kuan already had enough information to know its approximate location in the sea. After arriving at that area, he would have Xiao Jin search for it. Although the Dahe's description didn't have any map function, in the Abyss Island, a large city filled with cultivators, one only needed to spend a certain amount of spirit stones to purchase such information from the Abyss auction house. Naturally, many cultivators were willing to sell the area where the Black Mountain apes were active for a good price. Lu Kuan was currently flying the spirit shuttle, his thoughts still lingering on the refining of the magic treasure. Now that he had entered the viscera forging stage, and Qin Yushu had also broken through a small boundary, the power of their divine senses had also increased. If they used the soul sensing art's divine sense fusion technique, they could even reach the peak of the early core formation realm. Of course, carving a spirit design unique to a Dharma treasure was not a problem. After all, the spirit design unique to a Dharma treasure was not much stronger than a pseudo-Dharma treasure. The difficult part was carving a large number of Dharma treasure-grade spirit designs. Another thing was the refinement of the materials. However, with Xiao Hongfei's pure qi of the core completion stage, this was not difficult to accomplish. On the other hand, Lu Kuan and Qin Yushu studied the secret technique that Xiao Hongfei obtained from the Golden Spear sect for a period of time before they were able to comprehend it. In the end, they spent a lot of time and finally created a set of 5 Vajra rings. This caused Xiao Hongfei to be overjoyed. He was not stingy with his praise for Lu Kuan and the others' refining methods. Although the 5 Vajra rings were different from Qin Yushu's 5-feathered Qiankuan saber and lacked a combination method, he was already very satisfied. With Xiao Hongfei's current divine sense and pure magic power, he could barely release the combined attack of 3 Vajra rings. This power was completely comparable to the attack of a late core formation realm cultivator. When Lu Kuan recalled the scene of Xiao Hongfei rushing back to his cave residence to refine the magic treasure after obtaining it, Lu Kuan felt amused. Although the might of a complete set of magic treasures was formidable, because there were too many of them, the time it took to nurture and refine them was much longer than ordinary magic treasures. If Xiao Hongfei entered the nascent soul stage in the future and continued to refine this set of magic treasures for several hundred years, the power of this set of magic treasures would be incomparably terrifying. This time, the refining of the magic treasures went relatively smoothly. I gained some insights which gave me great confidence in the next great realm of body cultivation. After thinking about it, Lu Kuan's mood became cheerful. He secretly probed with his divine sense and found that he was already very far away from Abyss Island. The closest cultivator to him was 7 or 8 miles away. He suddenly said, "Xiao Jin, Xiao Hui, you two enter the spirit beast pouch for now. Now that my cultivation has increased and we're above the sea, I can continue to experiment with my Imperial Thunder escape technique." After putting away the 2 demon beasts, Lu Kuan's expression was somewhat excited. When he entered the blood condensation realm on Demon Island, he could use the explosive thunder technique in all 4 limbs to fly. However, at that time, he had no way to control it. Now that he had a viscera forging cultivation, his magic power had increased a lot, and his physical strength had also become much stronger. In addition to his 4 limbs, he could also use the explosive thunder technique in his torso. The explosive power of the explosive thunder technique was now unable to cause any damage to his body. Therefore, his flying speed would definitely increase a lot. As for his control, he still needed to test it out. Thinking of this, Lu Kuan's spirit was shaken. He directly put away the spirit shuttle under his feet. His 4 limbs and torso blossomed with a dazzling purple light. Boom! In the midst of the thunderstorm, the burly figure turned into a purple light and blasted away several nearby white clouds, rapidly shooting into the depths of the sea. The sound of the thunderstorm was so loud that even the cultivators who were 5 or 6 li away could hear it. Many people looked in this direction and they were all very surprised. Flying in the air this speed? A core formation senior? No, I feel that his magic power is only at the late Foundation Establishment realm. Being able to fly in the air at Foundation Establishment realm, he must be an elite disciple of the 10 great sections. Lu Kuan naturally couldn't hear the discussions of the other cultivators. He was also shocked by the sudden increase in speed. He didn't expect that after circulating the Thunderstorm Steps secret technique on the surface of his torso, his speed would suddenly increase to this extent. When Lu Kuan felt the magic power flowing out of his body, as well as the explosive power coming from the surface of his body, he became pensive. It's fortunate that I have lightning resistance. Otherwise, if I use this secret technique to fly for a long time, I would also be burned by the explosive power of the lightning. Although this Imperial Thunder escape technique is extremely fast, the magic power consumption is much faster than when I use the Silver Dragon Spirit Shuttle. Then, Lu Kuan tried to control it in an attempt to reduce its speed. The purple light flickered and the light above it dimmed. The sound of the thunder and lightning also gradually decreased. However, for some reason, the light only stopped accelerating and then fell diagonally downward. Splash! It smashed into the sea. After a short while, a light purple spirit shuttle appeared on the surface of the sea. Lu Kuan jumped out of the water with a melancholic expression. I can't stop in the air, and I can't stay in the air. There are still many flaws. It's just that the speed is faster. After Lu Kuan felt the Imperial Thunder escape technique, he came to this conclusion. After my cultivation level increased, the Silver Dragon Spirit Shuttle's speed also increased. Even if it's an early core formation cultivator, I can use its speed to escape. All in all, in terms of speed, this escape technique is much worse than the Silver Dragon Spirit Shuttle. However, my Imperial Lightning evasion technique also has its advantages. As long as I have a thought, I can fly in the air. My explosive speed is fast for short distances. If I were to fight against a core formation stage cultivator in the air, I would at least have the means to quickly close in on them. Chapter 437. Although a part of the ocean was occupied by human cultivators, it was only a small part of the vast ocean. This part of the ocean was called the Inner Sea by cultivators. High-level demon beasts were rarely seen here, and most of them were human cultivators. After flying for tens of thousands of miles from the Inner Sea, one would arrive at a new part of the ocean. It was called the Outer Sea by cultivators. The Outer Sea was completely different from the Inner Sea. It was filled with all kinds of demon beasts, ranging from level 1 to level 7 demon beasts. Of course, there was no lack of human cultivators in the Outer Sea. These human cultivators were all here to find treasures that the Inner Sea didn't have, or to hunt demon beasts. After all, other than herbs, many demon beast materials could also be used to refine pills that could increase one's cultivation. In addition, demon beast materials could also be exchanged for large amounts of spirit stones in the Inner Sea. However, the human cultivators in the Outer Sea were very cautious. This was because level 8 demon beasts would occasionally appear in the Outer Sea. Class 8 demonic beasts were equivalent to human nascent soul stage cultivators. They were called shapeshifting demonic beasts because demonic beasts of this level could shapeshift into human form. In their human form, they could use all kinds of human spells, even activate human magic treasures, and set up human spell formations. Generally speaking, level 8 demon beasts were stronger than early nascent soul cultivators. The main reason was that demon beasts had extremely strong defenses. Moreover, their sharp claws were not inferior to human magic treasures. In a situation where their attacks were equal, demon beasts could trade injury for injury. They could exchange light injuries for heavy injuries. Some level 8 demon beasts had amazing talent and could even release innate abilities that were stronger than high-level spells. Overall, it was very normal for them to be stronger than nascent soul cultivators. However, the chances of demon beasts reaching level 8 were much lower than humans. This was because demon beasts would experience shape-shifting lightning tribulation when they advanced from level 7 to level 8. It was as if the heavens knew how powerful demon beasts would be after reaching level 8 and wanted to stop them. The shape-shifting lightning tribulation that descended had the power of a nascent soul cultivator. For a level 7 demon beast to resist a nascent soul cultivator's shape-shifting lightning tribulation, not to mention whether they could successfully break through the bottleneck, the lightning tribulation could take their lives. Therefore, those who could become Class 8 demonic beasts were existences that had survived the lightning tribulation. As for the area beyond the Outer Sea, it was the Deep Sea. There were almost no immortal cultivators here, but there were many level 8 demonic beasts. It was said that level 10 demonic beasts, which were comparable to late nascent soul stage demonic beasts, lived somewhere in the Deep Sea. If nascent soul stage cultivators came here, they would be in danger of dying. At present, human cultivators would at most explore the outer seas. One day, on the beach of an island in the outer sea, there was a young man and woman. They wore white robes and stood back to back. In front of each of them floated a magical longsword that glowed with a white light. From the magic power they emitted, it could be seen that they were at the peak of the early Foundation establishment stage. At this moment, they were cautiously checking their surroundings. Within a range of 3 feet from their feet, there was a faint 8 trigrams pattern flashing. It was a mysterious array, and the man and woman were in the center of the 8 trigrams pattern. Suddenly, a white light flashed from the center of the formation to the man's right. The man's eyes flashed and he immediately aimed his longsword at that spot and plunged it into the sand. Sensing that he didn't hit the enemy, the man frowned and made a hand seal, causing the longsword to pierce through the sand. However, a yellow earthworm as thick as a baby's arm followed closely behind the longsword. The man was overjoyed. Junior Marshall's sister, it took the bait. When the woman behind him heard this, she immediately activated her longsword and attacked the huge earthworm that was trying to sneak attack the man. At the same time, the man struck the 8 trigrams pattern below his feet with a spell. Soon after, the 8 trigrams pattern shone brightly and a white light screen appeared out of thin air, enveloping the man and woman and the earthworm-like demon beast. The earthworm was hit by the woman's longsword and staggered for a while, but it didn't suffer any injuries. It seemed to have sensed danger and its body twisted uneasily. Then, with a yellow light, it drilled into the sand. Haha, too late. There was also a white light flashing above the sand. The ferocious earthworm seemed to have hit a wall and was bounced back. Junior Marshall's sister, although this sandstar worm has just become a level 3 demon beast, its defense is extremely strong. Attack with all your might. Okay, Senior Marshall brother. Then, the pair of brother and sister made a hand seal and combined the 2 long swords into one. The combined long sword's power was greatly increased. With a white light, it directly cut the demon beast that was unable to burrow into the ground into 2 halves. Seeing the stinky green blood flowing out of the 2 halves of the demon beast, the man finally let out a sigh of relief. He walked over and said, "This sandstar worm is really cunning. Not only is it proficient in concealment techniques, but it will also run away when it misses. If it wasn't for our flexible formation that allowed us to freely control the opening and closing of the formation and sense the demon beast's movements, we wouldn't have been able to lure this demon beast out." The woman also sighed. "This guy's skin is thick. We could only use the combination technique of our magic tools to break its defense. Otherwise, we wouldn't have been able to do anything if it kept sneaking up on us without being detected by our divine sense." The man took out a jade bottle and collected the stinky blood on the ground. He smiled and said, "This is a big harvest. The juice of this sandstar worm can be used to refine the moon dust pill. This way, it will be easier for us to enter the middle stage of foundation establishment. Moreover, the corpse can also be used to report to Marshall Uncle." The woman smiled. Just as she was about to speak, the sand outside the formation suddenly exploded. A huge yellow earthworm appeared. This earthworm was as thick as an adult's thigh. It directly slammed into the white light of the formation. The woman exclaimed, "Not good. This is a peak level 4 sandstar worm. We are definitely no match for it. Quickly ask Marshall Uncle for help." The man's face darkened. He quickly sent a ray of spirit energy into the formation plate on his chest. Boom! The white light of the sandstar worm was extremely dim. However, it seemed that it could still withstand a few more attacks. This allowed the man and woman to breathe a sigh of relief. However, a yellow light flashed from the sandstar worm's ferocious mouth and slammed into the dim light of the barrier. With just one attack, the barrier was shattered. The 8 trigrams pattern under the man and woman's feet was also shattered. Although the man and woman were shocked by the situation, their battle awareness was not low. They used the time the barrier took to block the attack and prepared a combined attack with their artifact. Therefore, after the formation was shattered, a combined long sword accurately slammed into the sandstar worm's open mouth. However, they did not expect the sandstar worm to be so cunning. Although it was stronger than the man and woman, it did not take the attack head-on after the formation was shattered. Instead, it continued to hide in the sand and waited for an opportunity to launch a sneak attack. This caused the man and woman's faces to change drastically. They reacted quickly and immediately summoned a flying artifact. Only in the air could they be considered safe. However, before they could fly more than 5 feet, The sand star worm broke through the sand from where they were originally standing and crashed into their flying boat. This flying boat artifact could not withstand the sandstar worm's attack at all. If they landed on the ground, they would definitely be no match for this peak level 4 demonic beast. Chapter 438. Hiss! The sand star worm spat out a mouthful of green blood and let out an ear-piercing cry of pain. At the same time, its fat body was sent flying 7 to 8 feet away. Bang! The sandstar worm fell on the beach. There were still some flashes of lightning on its body, and its aura was faintly discernible. It twisted its body subconsciously, but it seemed that its strength was not enough, and it could not drill into the sand. The ball of lightning returned to its original form. It was a light purple ball the size of a fist. There was a strange aura flashing on it, and it didn't look like an ordinary magic item. This change in the blink of an eye caused the pair of martial brother and sister to be dumbfounded. What kind of terrifying magic tool was this? It was able to almost kill the sandstar worm, which was extremely difficult to deal with among the 4th-grade demonic beasts, with just one strike. Looking at the purple ball that was reflected back, the man was shocked. There's someone on the beach? A burly man appeared on the beach. He wore a black robe that was covered with water stains, as if he had just come ashore from the sea. Seeing the light purple ball of lightning slowly fly to the man and be put away, the pair knew that this strange cultivator had saved their lives. Both of them were in the early stages of the Foundation Establishment stage. Naturally, they were able to detect the Foundation Establishment stage mana on the man's body. However, the man and woman were under the impression that even the strongest Foundation Establishment stage cultivator in the sect would not be able to unleash such an attack. Where did this person come from? He's only in the late stage of the Foundation Establishment stage, but he almost killed the sand star worm with a single attack. Other cultivators in the late stage of the Foundation Establishment stage wouldn't be confident of winning against this sand star worm. Could he be a core disciple of one of the top sects? With this thought, the man didn't dare to neglect this person. He called out to his junior sister and landed in front of this strange cultivator. After putting away the flying boat, the man said respectfully, "I'm Song Yu from the Star Moon Pavilion, and this is my junior sister. Thank you for your help. Otherwise, we would have been in danger of dying under this sand star worm's sneak attack." The burly man was none other than Lu Kuan, who was searching for the Black Mountain Ape's territory in the outer sea. He carefully sized up the man and woman, then chuckled and said, "So it's fellow Taoists from the Star Moon Pavilion. That formation just now was very mysterious, and only the formation map of your sect could have such changes. Back then, I even had dealings with your esteemed sect's Zhai Xing Zi." When the man and woman heard this, their expressions relaxed quite a bit. This unfamiliar cultivator did not have any ill intent in his words, and he seemed to be acquainted with their martial uncle Zhai Xing Zi. He should be a friend and not an enemy. The man said excitedly, "So fellow Taoist knows Master Zhai Xing Zi. That's great. Master Zhai Xing Zi is nearby. Since fellow Taoist has saved our lives, we must thank fellow Taoist. Right, how should I address you?" Lu Kuan didn't answer. Instead, he slapped his head and said, "I almost forgot. Zhai Xingzi advanced to the core formation stage on the Demon Island. No wonder you dared to come to the outer sea with your early Foundation Establishment stage cultivation. It's because Zhai Xingzi is here." At this moment, the man was actually a bit nervous. From the strange man's tone, he could tell that he didn't have any respect for their core formation stage martial uncle. Instead, he wanted to make friends with them as if they were of the same generation. Could it be that this person is also a core formation stage cultivator? The man couldn't help but recall the terrifying attack from before. He suddenly realized, that's right. Only a core formation stage cultivator could casually unleash an attack of that level. That purple ball with an indescribable aura should be a magic treasure. Just when the man was about to ask, Lu Kuan said, "Actually, I'm just passing by. I want to ask you two fellow Taoists where we are in the outer sea." As it turned out, Lu Kuan was too engrossed in practicing the Imperial Lightning escape technique. Although he had the sun in the sky to guide him, he wasn't particularly sure of the direction he was flying in. Previously, when he was practicing the Imperial Lightning escape technique at the bottom of the sea, his powerful spiritual sense just happened to sense the presence of these two cultivators. Thus, he came over to ask for their direction. The attack that he had just unleashed was nothing to him at the moment. With his 50,000 kilograms of strength combined with the falling thunderball, the attack was not inferior to the attack of a core formation cultivator's magic treasure. Severely injuring a level 4 demon beast was nothing. When the man heard Lu Kuan's question, in addition to his own guess just now, he immediately took out a jade slip and said in a fawning manner, "This is a map of the nearby seas. The island we're on is also marked on it. I'll give it to fellow Taoists." Lu Kuan took the jade slip and his eyes lit up, as expected of the Star Moon Pavilion. "They've recorded the island in the outer sea in such detail. Now I can find our destination." Huh! Suddenly, Lu Kuan's expression changed slightly. The star-plucking child is indeed nearby. Forget it, it's better to avoid unnecessary trouble. When the man and woman heard Lu Kuan's words, they were a little confused. But then, they saw the strange man's feet flashing with lightning, and he disappeared from where he was standing. When the man looked again, he realized that the strange man had already appeared where the 4th-level star sandworm was. Then, the strange man's burly body was wrapped in blinding lightning. In a series of explosions, the strange man flew in a certain direction, and the sandworm was nowhere to be seen. Seeing such a terrifying speed, the man immediately broke out in a cold sweat and said, "He really is a core formation stage cultivator, and he cultivates a thunder element technique. Luckily, I didn't offend him just now." The woman beside him patted her chest and said with some lingering fear, "A core formation stage cultivator is really scary. He emitted the mana of a foundation establishment stage cultivator. We couldn't even see through it. Could it be that this senior is hiding his cultivation level because he wants to deal with a 5th-level demonic beast? If that's the case, then Master's uncle is coming." The man suddenly saw a white streak of light flying towards them. It emitted the powerful mana of a core formation stage cultivator. In the blink of an eye, the streak of light landed in front of them, revealing a young man with sharp eyebrows and bright eyes. It was Zhai Xingzi, who was chosen by Lu Kuan to break out of the encirclement on the Demon Island. At this moment, he had a look of surprise on his face as he looked in the direction that Lu Kuan went. Then, Zhai Xingzi looked at the man and woman and asked, "Nephew Song, did you send out the distress signal because of that male cultivator?" The man with the surname Song smiled bitterly and said, "We sent out the distress signal because we encountered a 4th-level star sandworm. If it wasn't for that senior who passed by and helped us, we might not have been able to see you." Zhai Xingzi frowned and said, "Senior? He's a core formation stage cultivator?" The man with the surname Song felt strange and said, "He beat the 4th-level star sandworm to the brink of death with just one attack. Plus, he's flying in the air and his speed is similar to yours. Is he not a core formation stage cultivator?" "Oh right, he also said that he knows you." Zhai Xingzi was stunned and mumbled, "What a familiar thunder element. But the thunder element cultivators, I know, don't have such a high cultivation level." Then, Zhai Xingzi seemed to have thought of something and hurriedly asked, "Did you see his weapon?" "Yes, it's a light purple ball-shaped magic treasure." Chapter 439. More than 10 years ago, at the end of the Demon Island, the demonic cultivator who appeared out of nowhere attracted everyone's attention. Next was Xiao Hongfei, the loose cultivator who advanced using the ancient core formation method. However, Lu Kuan's cultivation at the intermediate foundation establishment stage was still noticed by many people. When they entered the Demon Island, the disciples of the 10 great sects who surrounded and killed the second batch of loose cultivators all remembered this early stage foundation establishment stage cultivator who broke out of the encirclement. When he left, he was actually at the peak of the intermediate foundation establishment stage. Even with the help of the abundant spirit chi of the Demon Island, it was impossible to complete the accumulation of Dharma power of a small realm in such a short time unless one ate pills like candy. In their opinion, it was impossible to do so in 3 years. Even a core formation stage cultivator would not be able to afford so many pills. Everyone remembered Lu Kuan. Then, Zhai Xingzi, who broke out of the encirclement, remembered this loose cultivator who made him a laughingstock of the other sections. Although Lu Kuan's appearance had changed, his mana aura and figure were very similar to before. In addition, he still remembered the ball-shaped Dharma artifact that he suspected to be a fake Dharma artifact. Zhai Xingzi immediately determined that this person was the strange cultivator who suppressed him at the early foundation establishment stage on the Demon Island. Intermediate foundation establishment stage? Uncle Master, this person is not a core formation stage cultivator? Zhai Xingzi muttered to himself. The other 2 disciples of the Star Moon Pavilion were puzzled. Zhai Xingzi snorted coldly and said, "This guy just entered the Demon Island 20 years ago. He was only at the peak of the early foundation establishment stage. Now that he has reached the late foundation establishment stage, his speed is already terrifying. Haha, if this guy entered the core formation stage in such a short period of time, he can't just be a loose cultivator. Moreover, he sensed my presence and immediately ran away. This proves this point even more." When the man and woman heard this, they could not help but look at each other. Their eyes were filled with disbelief. To cultivate from the peak of the early foundation establishment stage to the late foundation establishment stage in 20 years, what a shocking speed. It should be known that they spent more than 20 years to cultivate from the early foundation establishment stage to the peak of the early foundation establishment stage. They would be stuck at the bottleneck of the intermediate foundation establishment stage for a long time. As for the intermediate foundation establishment stage, it would only be longer. The man with the surname Song thought back to that attack and he stammered, "Then the power of that attack?" Only then did Zhai Xingzi remember what his 2 apprentice nephews had said. He looked around. Other than the level 3 sandstar worm's corpse, there were only green bloodstains on the beach not far away. The level 4 sandstar worm was nowhere to be seen. "You said that he severely injured the sandstar worm. Could it be that the sandstar worm was in disguise and then used the opportunity to escape?" The man surnamed Song shook his head and said, "Martial uncle, the last person's escape technique was very profound. I feel that it was even more profound than a core formation cultivator's." In a flash, he crossed a distance of 70 to 80 feet and took away the dying sandstar worm. Zhai Xingzi furrowed his brows. If that's the case, this fellow's strength has indeed improved by leaps and bounds since he was able to heavily injure a Class 4 demonic beast with one strike. Then, he revealed a cold smile. "Now that I have a magic treasure, no matter how strong he is still a foundation establishment stage cultivator. He cannot resist the power of a magic treasure. However, this fellow took away the sandstar worm. Could it be that his goal is the same as mine?" The man and woman on the side listened to their new martial uncle mumbling to himself. Naturally, they could not interrupt. However, from his tone, they could tell that the male cultivator who saved them was not on good terms with Zhai Xingzi. After a while, Zhai Xingzi said in a low voice, "Inform everyone to search the nearby islands. There must be at least one level 4 sandstar worm's corpse. Otherwise, we will not be able to attract the high-level demonic ape." This time, if you find any traces of a level 4 sandstar worm, inform me immediately. You will be in no danger by flying on your flying artifact." The man and woman revealed a bitter smile. They had just witnessed the strength of a level 4 sandstar worm. Not only was its mouthpart powerful, the demonic beast itself was also very cunning. It would be very dangerous to find it. Seeing their expressions, how could Jai Xingzi not understand what they were thinking? He said, "This mission was assigned by Elder Peng of the sect. He is proficient in the art of alchemy. If we complete it well, the elixirs he will reward us with will not be bad." The man and woman seemed to know Elder Peng's name. They were pleasantly surprised and immediately agreed. Then, they flew to the other islands on their flying artifacts to inform their fellow sect members. Then, they continued to search for sandstar worms. Jai Xingzi shook his head and collected the worm's corpse on the ground. He muttered to himself, "Without the strength of a core formation stage cultivator, it is impossible for him to target the Black Mountain ape. He must be just passing by. If I can complete this mission, Elder Peng will reward me with the Cloud Spirit Pill. It will save me at least 10 years of cultivation." His eyes flashed with excitement. The man with dashing eyebrows flew in another direction. He had only learned that there were many sandstar worms on the nearby islands after the Star Moon Pavilion's investigation. He had to search for them himself. At that moment, Lu Kuan was sitting on the silver dragon boat. He closed his eyes and sensed his surroundings. He found that not only did Jai Xingzi not follow him, but Jai Xingzi's spiritual sense wasn't locked onto him. He felt quite relieved. Jai Xing has only recently entered core formation stage. Even if he has refined a magic treasure, I may not necessarily lose in battle. However, it is best to avoid unnecessary trouble. The Ghost Spirit sect was able to recognize me. Who knows what information the Star Moon Pavilion might have? Lu Kuan muttered to himself. Light flashed from his hand and the corpse of the sandstar worm appeared on the spirit shuttle. The demon beast lasted for a moment before dying from heavy injuries. Lu Kuan looked at the fat demonic insect's corpse and clicked his tongue. There's a rumor in the market that the mountain demonic apes like to eat the flesh of sandstar worms. I wonder if it's true. When Dahe said that their island was full of bananas, he even drooled. This fruit-eating guy probably doesn't like to eat insects. I don't know if it's a misconception from human cultivators. Lu Kuan sighed and took out the jade slip he obtained from the Star Moon Pavilion. There are many maps of the sea in the market, but they are far inferior to the Star Moon Pavilions. It seems that most of the resources are in the hands of the 10 great sections. This place isn't far from the Dahe's territory. That area should be close to the monstrous mountain ape's territory. Lu Kuan put away the jade slip and released the 2 demon beasts. He said, "Xiao Jin, I'll have to trouble you. Your bloodline and innate abilities should be able to sense the presence of the Black Mountain ape. After entering that area, pay more attention." Jiji. Next, Lu Kuan tossed out the 2 meteoric lightning rods and Xiao Jin's wishful meteoric iron rod. With Xiao Jin's help, the Silver Dragon Spirit Shuttle was reassembled. Soon after, the flying magic tool that had fused with the pseudo-magic treasure turned into a purple streak of light and quickly flew in a certain direction. If Xiao Hongfei were to see this speed, his eyeballs would definitely pop out of their sockets. Chapter 440. In a certain part of the outer sea, there was a huge island covered by clouds and mist. The island was in the shape of a crescent moon. It was verdant and lush with luxuriant foliage. Except for a few places, the entire island was filled with spiritual energy. Under the cover of the clouds and mist, it was like a paradise. The island was filled with the cries of various birds and insects, but the loudest ones were the sounds of monkeys playing. It was like an island full of vitality. In the central area was a mountain hundreds of feet high. There were also the sounds of monkeys, which were louder than other places. Halfway up the mountain, there was a waterfall dozens of feet high. The rumbling sound of the waterfall and the sounds of monkeys playing filled the mountain. Behind the waterfall there was a secret cave. There were 5 chimpanzees in the cave. They were in various postures. They seemed to be sleeping or cultivating. Lying in the deepest part of the cave was an old chimpanzee with gray hair. It was very strong. Its physique was not worse than the chimpanzees outside. It looked even stronger. It was lying at the root of an unknown tree. There were some little monkeys around it. These little monkeys' tails were swaying slightly. There was saliva on the corner of their mouth. Obviously, they were sleeping very soundly. The spiritual energy in the cave seemed to be attracted by something. A lot of it gathered into the old chimpanzee's body. At the same time, its strong body exuded a very strong demonic aura. The little monkeys nearby could not absorb the spiritual energy into their bodies. However, the demonic aura around the old chimpanzee would slowly enter the bodies of these little monkeys. Gradually, some of the little monkeys seemed to be nourished by the demonic aura. Vaguely, some of the spiritual energy also entered the little monkey's body along with the demonic aura. Among humans, there was only 1 in 10,000 who had spiritual root. The same was true for demonic beasts. Not all beasts could become demonic beasts. Except for a few powerful clans with bloodline inheritance, they were born as demonic beasts. Many demonic beasts gave birth to ordinary beasts. At this time, if they wanted them to become demonic beasts, they needed to nourish their bodies with demonic aura. With the transformation of demonic aura, these ordinary little cubs had a certain chance to awaken as demonic beasts. Then, they would gradually learn how to absorb the spiritual energy of heaven and earth and transform it into demonic spiritual energy in their bodies. Then, they would slowly make breakthroughs in their cultivation towards the higher realms of demonic beasts. As for demonic chi, only powerful demonic beasts that had formed a demonic core would be able to emit demonic chi under the transformation of the demonic spiritual energy within their bodies. The old chimpanzee had been sleeping like this. From time to time, little monkey would wake up. At this time, there was a calm middle-aged chimpanzee outside the cave. No matter whether the little monkey could absorb Reiki or not, he would carry it out, as if he didn't want to disturb the old chimpanzee. After an unknown period of time, the old gorilla suddenly opened its eyes. Its eyes flashed with surprise. It immediately gathered its monster chi, turned into a yellow light and blasted out of the cave. This directly woke up the other chimpanzees in the cave. Looking at the old chimpanzee's movements, they all felt strange, and one of them, a chimpanzee with shiny black hair, also seemed to feel something. It let out a cry of joy and followed the old chimpanzee to run out, leaving the remaining 2 chimpanzees at a loss. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. The middle-aged chimpanzee holding the little monkey pointed to the depths of the cave and called out to the other 2 chimpanzees. Immediately, they stopped moving and continued to stay in the cave. On the sea outside the crescent-shaped island, Lu Kuan said with some uncertainty, "Xiao Jin, you felt a lot of bloodline aura, is it from this island?" Squeak squeak. But didn't Dahe say that the island is full of banana trees? I used my golden eyes to check, but there is nothing. Lu Kuan touched his chin and murmured. Squeak squeak. What? You said 2 chimpanzees are flying over? Only those who have condensed a monster core and reached the 5th level can fly. It should be Dahe. Well, he absorbed my blood essence, so his ability to sense our bloodline has increased a lot. While speaking, Lu Kuan's eyes flashed with golden light. He saw 2 black spots appear on the mountain in the center of the giant island, and they were flying in their direction at a very fast speed. Gradually, Lu Kuan sensed that one of them was quite familiar with the aura, and his vigilance was put down. Soon, he also saw the other chimpanzee. It was a very old chimpanzee, but its strong body looked even stronger than Dahe. This old chimpanzee has a very strong monster spiritual energy. Is it a 7th level monster? Just when Lu Kuan was secretly speechless, he found that Dahe's speed had slowed down, but the old chimpanzee's speed did not decrease, but instead increased, and fiercely rushed towards him. Not good. Lu Kuan's face changed. At this time, his weapon was in the silver dragon spirit shuttle, and in a hurry, he only had time to grab the 2 lightning balls at the end of the shuttle. Looking at the strong old chimpanzee stretching out 2 monkey fists that were bigger than his head, Lu Kuan did not have time to think, because he felt a huge crisis, as if he was hit by this fist, he would definitely die. Under the threat of death, Lu Kuan roared, and his arms suddenly became twice as strong, with blue veins on them, and a layer of dazzling purple lightning flashed on the outside. At the same time, a monstrous blood chi rushed to the sky. He stomped his foot and pressed down the silver dragon spirit shuttle, and at the same time borrowed some of the force. Bang! Lu Kuan's fists, which were holding the lightning balls, collided with the old chimpanzee's. Without any suspense, Lu Kuan's human body, which was much smaller than the old chimpanzee's, was directly blasted down and smashed into the sea. Seeing this, the old chimpanzee withdrew its fists, and its monkey eyes narrowed, looking very happy. At this time, Dahe, who was following the old chimpanzee closely, also came to the side. Looking at the old chimpanzee, it seemed like it wanted to say something, but didn't dare to. The old chimpanzee patted Dahe's arm and actually spoke human language. "Don't worry, I know what I'm doing. I'm just testing his bloodline ability. There's no problem now, you can fish him up." Dahe's expression relaxed, and it immediately shot towards the sea where Lu Kuan fell into. At this time, the old chimpanzee turned to look at Xiao Jin, who was controlling the silver dragon spirit shuttle, and suddenly grinned very happily. As if feeling the old chimpanzee's kindness, Xiao Jin also giggled. Lu Kuan was a bit nervous just now, so he didn't notice that Xiao Jin wasn't worried at all. This was because Xiao Jin seemed to have heard the old chimpanzee's inner voice, which was to test Lu Kuan's giant arm ability. After a while, Dahe's huge body flew out of the water, and its monkey claws held the unconscious Lu Kuan with a helpless expression. "It's just a feint, it's okay. Blackie, little monkey, come with me." Chapter 441. It didn't take long for Lu Kuan to wake up. He subconsciously rubbed his sore arm. Then, he was stunned. He found that in front of him, there were 5 chimpanzees of different shapes and appearances. They were staring at him with their bell-sized eyes. The aura of 5 demonic beasts above the 5th level made him break out in a cold sweat. Squeak squeak. Just when Lu Kuan didn't dare to move, a familiar sound came, which made him relax a little. He turned his head slightly and found Xiao Jin beside the 5 chimpanzees, as well as the little silver-spotted leopard lying on the ground obediently. Squeak squeak. Xiao Jin saw that Lu Kuan was very nervous, so he continued to dance and tell the story. Lu Kuan finally relaxed and looked at the old chimpanzee. Among the 5 black mountain apes, this old chimpanzee's aura was the most powerful. In the short fight before, it must be a demonic beast above the 7th level to be able to knock him out easily when he used the giant arm technique. Lu Kuan was very clear that after he used the giant arm technique, his strength barely reached 150,000 pounds. The old chimpanzee's strength completely crushed him, which was at least 200,000 pounds. Ordinary 6th-level demonic beasts couldn't have such terrifying strength. "You woke up so quickly. It means that your body is stronger than what Hazy said. It seems that you have other methods besides the ancient demonic ape bloodline. You can talk?" Lu Kuan stared at the old chimpanzee in shock and stammered. As far as he knew, only level 8 metamorphosis stage demonic beasts could speak the human language. That was an existence that was even stronger than human nascent soul stage cultivators. The old chimpanzee could tell what Lu Kuan was thinking at a glance. He laughed and said, "I, this old chimpanzee, have lived for a long time. With some coincidences I can speak. Then he said with a slightly sad expression, unfortunately, I'm too old. Even if I can break through the 7th level bottleneck, I won't be able to survive the transformation thunder tribulation with my degenerated body. I might as well not break through. I'll guard the clan for a few more years, and let more of the little apes become demon beasts. Lu Kuan looked at the old gorilla carefully. Although it was bigger than Dahe and the other 4 young black mountain apes, it still looked like a gorilla. It did not look like a human at all, and it was more than 9 feet tall. It should be known that the legendary level 8 shape-shifting demonic beast was not much different from a human except for its sharp teeth and claws. Its size was also similar to a human. The fact that the old gorilla could not transform into a human meant that it had not reached level 8. After listening to Xiao Jin's explanation, coupled with the fact that he didn't feel any malice from the old gorilla, Lu Kuan immediately knew why the old gorilla attacked him. He couldn't help but ask, Senior, did you attack me because you wanted to feel my bloodline power? The old gorilla nodded and moved its arms. It sat down as if it was tired. It lay on a stone pillar and said, Yes, Blackie told me about his encounter with you on the Demon Island. My first reaction was that it was impossible. As the oldest gorilla of the Black Mountain Apes, I've never heard of a demon beast's bloodline existing in a human's body. Not to mention that this is the royal bloodline of our ancient demonic ape. When you were close to the island, I felt the bloodline power of my own kind. I couldn't help but test it. Sure enough, you used the connecting arms ability, and your strength was stronger than Blackie's. Only then did I believe what he said. You really have such a bloodline. Lu Kuan noticed the word, connecting arms, and asked excitedly, connecting arms? Senior, do you know what kind of ancient ape this bloodline belongs to? The old gorilla sighed and pointed at the wall behind Lu Kuan. There's a picture of this ancient demonic ape on the mural behind. Lu Kuan immediately turned around and saw a large and densely packed mural. The part closest to him depicted a group of human cultivators and all kinds of demonic beasts fighting on the sea. Hey, isn't this the mural outside the Abyss Market? Lu Kuan's expression changed. He immediately recalled the scene when he first saw the Abyss Market. The mural in front of him was almost the same as the one in front of him. Lu Kuan's face revealed a trace of awkwardness. Of course, he knew that this was the battle between the humans and the demonic beasts for the inner sea. Needless to say, the human cultivators won that battle and drove the demonic beasts to the outer sea. Then, he continued to look at the mural. There were no other demon beasts in the next scene. There were only many demonic apes. These apes were fleeing from the land to the outer sea. On the land, human cultivators were chasing them with various magic treasures. Cough cough. Lu Kuan was embarrassed when he saw this scene. From the name of the mountain demonic ape, he knew that they should have lived in the mountains and rivers. It was the human cultivators who drove them out of the land and into the sea that they were unfamiliar with. However, this mural depicted the history of the mountain demonic ape. The scenes behind it should be from an earlier time. With that thought in mind, he continued to look back. Hey! Lu Kuan's expression suddenly changed. The largest part of the mural depicted a large number of monster beasts, humans, and some humanoid creatures with strange skin colors that Lu Kuan had never seen before. These creatures had sharp spikes growing out of their joints, making them look incomparably ferocious. I remember now. I've seen this creature on the building of the Miraculous Gate. He remembered that there was such a creature on the mural outside the Demonic Spirit Pavilion in the Wei Nation's market. That's not right. Why do I remember that the human cultivators were dealing with this strange creature and the demon beasts at the same time? And here, the human cultivators and the demon beasts are on the same side. They are dealing with this humanoid creature together. Lu Kuan was secretly puzzled. He vaguely felt that there was a secret in this. However, The old macaque wanted him to find the ancient demonic ape that gave him its bloodline on this mural. He shook his head, put this doubt in his heart, and continued to look. At this time, the scene changed to a large number of apes. Many of these apes were in human form, but from the mural it could be seen that they were apes that were above the transformation level. These level 8 demonic beasts, like the other low-level apes, were all surrounding the three-headed ape in the middle like stars surrounding the moon. Outside the three-headed ape, there were a few demon apes standing in a circle like guards. One of the guard gorillas was in human form and had extremely large palms. It was obviously a demon ape that was above the transformation level among the mountain demonic ape. The three-headed ape that was surrounded by many demon apes did not reveal its human form for some reason. They were all in monkey form, and the most eye-catching one was the largest one. Chapter 442. Lu Kuan stared at the monster ape and found that it was almost the same as the golden ape in his dream. However, he felt that the golden ape in his dream was definitely much stronger than the one on the mural. This was his subconscious feeling after he felt the aura on the mural. Seeing Lu Kuan staring at the giant ape, the old ape knew that this human had discovered the origin of the bloodline. A trace of excitement flashed in its eyes, and it trembled slightly. Lu Kuan, have you seen the long-armed giant ape? Long-armed giant ape? Lu Kuan turned his head and saw the excited expressions of the old ape and the other black mountain apes. He was a little puzzled. The old ape immediately explained, "The long-armed giant ape is the name of this ancient monster ape. The bloodline in your body is the bloodline of the long-armed giant ape." Lu Kuan looked at the ape on the mural and murmured, "So the golden ape is called the long-armed giant ape. The long-armed giant ape is the giant arm theurgy I activated." Hearing this, the old ape's figure flashed and came in front of Lu Kuan. It grabbed Lu Kuan's shoulder and said excitedly, "The golden ape has seen the long-armed giant ape. You've seen the long-armed giant ape. I'm afraid the current cultivators haven't even heard of the long-armed giant ape, let alone know that its fur is golden. There is no color on the mural. You must have seen its real body since you can name its fur color. Lu Kuan, where did you see it?" Lu Kuan smiled bitterly. "Actually, I don't know if I've really seen it. The only time I saw this terrifying ape was in a dream. But that dream was so real that I'm not sure." The old ape didn't let go of its hands. It stared into Lu Kuan's eyes and said, "A dream?" The other black mountain apes and Xiao Jin began to wonder. Lu Kuan didn't tell Xiao Jin about this dream. After pondering for a moment, Lu Kuan began to describe the scene. At the beginning, it was the scene of the confrontation between the long-armed ape monkey and the purple thunderbird. Lu Kuan's description of the body of the giant long-armed ape made the old gorilla nod repeatedly. What followed was the battle between the two terrifying demonic beasts. Lu Kuan described the battle in great detail. The various abilities of the long-armed ape monkeys, and even the weapons in their hands, made the few black mountain apes below look on in awe. When they heard that the long-armed ape monkeys had torn their opponents apart, they beat their chests with their fists and howled loudly, as if they were the ones who had torn their opponents apart. However, when Lu Kuan mentioned the end of the dream, when the Thunderbird used a world-destroying divine ability, the black mountain apes suddenly quieted down. After having that dream, I realized that I had left my hometown. In one night, I appeared in the depths of the demonic ape mountain. After that, my body's strength gradually changed. My eyes also changed. After I came into contact with immortal cultivation, under various coincidences, I gradually mastered this giant arm. No, it should be called the long-armed magical ability. After Lu Kuan finished talking, he looked at the few apes that had quieted down, especially the old gorilla. It lowered its head and pondered, at the same time pacing left and right, as if it was very confused by what Lu Kuan had described. Lu Kuan knew that there were all kinds of incredible things that even the powerful old gorilla could not figure out. This was under the premise that Lu Kuan concealed that he came from another world. Seeing that the old gorilla did not speak, Lu Kuan did not disturb it, but continued to look at the mural. In addition to the long-armed ape monkey, the other 3 apes on the mural also had some characteristic. On the right-hand side of the long-armed ape monkey was an extremely handsome ape. The word handsome was used because the ape's face looked very standard. However, other than this monkey's face, its body was not much different from an ordinary ape. Its body was much smaller than the long-armed ape monkey. Nevertheless, it had a proud look on its face. Just from the mural, one could feel that its aura was no less than that of the long-armed ape monkey. On the left-hand side of the long-armed ape monkey, there was a long-faced baboon monkey. Its body was larger than the previous handsome ape, and there were some water-like lines lingering around its body. It was not clear what kind of magical ability it was. After seeing the 3 ancient demonic apes clearly, Lu Kuan was puzzled. Didn't Dahe say that Xiao Jin also has the bloodline of the ancient demonic ape? No matter how I look at it, the other 2 are not quite the same. Although this handsome ape is about the same size, there are still some differences. Xiao Jin's magical ability is on the ears. This handsome ape's ears are very ordinary, so it should not be, and the other baboon monkey is even more impossible. Just as Lu Kuan was puzzled, the old gorilla suddenly sighed, disrupting Lu Kuan's thoughts. He looked up and found that the old gorilla's face was full of disappointment. Its original excitement was gone, and it looked even older. Lu Kuan could not help but ask, "Senior, did you find something?" The old gorilla sighed and said, "My cultivation is limited, but the scene described by fellow Taoist Lu is very likely to be the space storm after the battle between the long-armed giant ape and the unknown thunderbird. The space storm and the blood of my clan's senior may have undergone some changes, causing you to have the bloodline of the long-armed ape monkey in your body. At the same time, you were also swept away by the space storm. Then the senior should be fine in the end. Although the thunderbird looks very powerful, in terms of physical defense, it should be much weaker than the long-armed giant ape." The old gorilla shook its head and said, "Fellow Taoist's dream should be part of the memory transmitted by the bloodline. I don't know what happened after that, but my clan's senior should be in danger. From the inheritance of the Black Mountain ape, being able to tear the space is not something that can be done in this generation. Even if my clan senior is far beyond the realm of the Monster King, it would be very dangerous in the face of such a scene. But if the senior is still alive, he should be in the upper world and can't help us." Then the old gorilla looked at Lu Kuan and said, "Fellow Taoist, you seem to be able to use the long-armed giant ape with ease. How about the eyes?" Lu Kuan activated the power of his divine sense and poured it into his eyes. Then, his golden eyes looked at the old gorilla, and it suddenly felt that some of its cultivation was seen through. Feeling this, the old gorilla was puzzled and asked, "Is it only useful in the detection aspect?" Lu Kuan nodded and said, "Just this aspect alone has benefited me a lot. In a battle at the speed of light, this golden eye is even more useful than the divine sense. It can feed back the enemy's reaction to me. And some powerful concealment abilities can be seen through by this pair of golden eyes." The old gorilla touched its chin and said, "I know about this, but it was passed down by my clan's senior. This golden eye attack ability is the scene you saw in your dream. It seems that it hasn't awakened yet." Seeing Lu Kuan's thoughtful expression, the old gorilla suddenly said seriously, "Fellow Taoist Lu, although you have the bloodline of my clan's ancient demonic ape, you are still a human cultivator, a human who has a deep hatred for us demon beasts." Chapter 443. You should know that we demons and humans fight to the death when we meet. Since you helped Blackie reach level 5, I've already spared your life. The old gorilla's tone immediately became unfriendly. Now that I've explained the origin of your bloodline to you, you and the Black Mountain Ape clan are now even. I'll give you half a day to leave my clan's territory, or I'll kill you. Lu Kuan was shocked by the old gorilla's change in attitude. Just a moment ago, the old gorilla was excitedly asking him about the whereabouts of the giant long-armed ape, but in the blink of an eye, it was murderously chasing him away. Squeak, squeak! Woo, woo, woo! Not only Lu Kuan, but even Xiao Jin and Dahe were stunned. Dahe was extremely anxious. Its huge body rushed to the old gorilla and whimpered something. However, the old gorilla was still expressionless and coldly looked at Lu Kuan. Lu Kuan could understand what Dahe meant. He knew that this black mountain ape, who had been with the old gorilla for many years, was telling the old gorilla that he was from the same clan. No, this old gorilla listened to Dahe but didn't nod or chase him away. After a while, Lu Kuan felt a little strange. Then, he secretly looked at the other high-level apes and found that they were looking at Lu Kuan the same way as Dahe. They were all very close. Only the old gorilla looked at him with a bit of murderous intent. The old gorilla said, for the sake of helping Dahe. Could it be? Thinking of this, Lu Kuan understood and immediately turned to gratitude. He said to the old gorilla, "Senior, thank you for sparing my life. This is a gift for you." As he spoke, a light flashed in Lu Kuan's hand, and a jade bottle appeared. It contained dark red blood and a fierce blood-chi energy was emitted. The old macaque was pleasantly surprised when it saw the jade bottle, but it quickly disappeared. After receiving the jade bottle, it coughed and said, "In that case, I'll let you stay on the island for a few more days." Although the old chimpanzee hid it well, it forgot that Lu Kuan's golden eye god art was not ordinary. Lu Kuan had already seen its expression, and the other chimpanzees were all overjoyed. Lu Kuan, who understood the old gorilla's needs, said respectfully, "Senior, I came to the territory of the Black Mountain Apes not only to visit the Dahe and find the source of my bloodline, but also to ask for Senior's guidance on how to use my talent. How do I use that control divine ability?" While speaking, 3 similar jade bottles appeared in Lu Kuan's hand. Seeing the excitement in the old gorilla's eyes, Lu Kuan chuckled inwardly, but with a sincere expression, he said, "Junior is willing to exchange these bottles of special essence blood for the method to control the god art." The old gorilla suppressed its excitement and pretended to say, "This divine ability attack is a secret of the Black Mountain Apes. Even within the tribe, only some of the more talented ones can cultivate it. Let's not talk about human cultivators, just the other demon races. But seeing that you have our bloodline, I reluctantly agree." The old gorilla was a bit hesitant at first, but seeing Lu Kuan take out 3 more bottles of essence blood, it immediately changed its tone. At the same time, its body flashed and directly grabbed the 6 bottles of essence blood from Lu Kuan. Lu Kuan was a bit distressed. This was not the essence blood he collected in the early stage of the Foundation establishment, but the essence blood he refined after entering the middle stage of the Foundation establishment with the method of the red refining demonic art. He kept it with him and used it as half a healing elixir for body cultivators. In order not to affect his cultivation progress, he refined 10 bottles in the past 17 years. Now, he gave the old gorilla 7 bottles at once. How could he not feel distressed? "Thank you, Senior." The old gorilla curled its lips and suppressed its inner joy. It nodded solemnly and said, "I can give you the method, but there's one thing I need to tell you. The bloodline of the Black Mountain Apes is a branch of the bloodline of the giant long-armed apes, but you're a human. I don't know if you can use the control divine ability of our tribe." Hearing this, Lu Kuan vaguely felt that he was fooled, but he still said, "It's okay. I just want to use it as a reference. Come in with me. You don't have to follow me." Then, the old gorilla led Lu Kuan to the depths of the cave. After passing through some stone pillars and walking dozens of steps along the stream, Lu Kuan found that he came to the bottom of several thick roots. He sensed that the spirit chi here was the strongest in the cave. There seemed to be something else in the depths of the intertwined root. After coming here, the old gorilla said, "Fellow cultivator Lu, you've seen the divine ability of the Black Mountain apes. It's the control divine ability that Hazy used. As long as our tribe members awaken the talent, the operation method of this divine ability will naturally appear in their bloodline. However, to prevent this divine ability from being lost, the seniors of our tribe carved it." The old gorilla pointed at the stone wall next to the roots and said, "Our seniors are all above the transformation level. After studying this divine ability, they carved the operation method on the wall. Even if our tribe members don't awaken the giant fist talent, they can still use this divine ability after reaching the transformation level." Lu Kuan immediately looked at the stone wall curiously and saw several pictures of gorillas. The first picture was of a gorilla clenching its fists and raising them to the sky. At the same time, there were many strange lines drawn in the fists. The same was true for the other pictures. The fists and chests all had these lines. Just as Lu Kuan was puzzled, the old gorilla explained, "These are the circulation routes that stimulate the blood essence and demon spirit energy in the body. The thicker ones are the blood essence and the thinner ones are the demon spirit energy. Take Hazy for example. As long as he wants to use this divine ability, the blood essence in his body will automatically rush to his fists according to the established route. The demon spirit energy will also automatically circulate and finally use the control divine ability." Lu Kuan nodded and silently memorized the operation method of the demon spirit energy and blood essence in the fists. He suddenly asked, "Senior, do the demon spirit energy and blood essence circulate in the flesh?" The old gorilla found it strange. "Why flesh? Of course they circulate in the demon spirit vein. Although demon beasts are somewhat different from humans, they all have veins that store spirit chi." Lu Kuan's expression changed and he murmured, "Demon spirit vein?" Afterwards, he impatiently looked through the next few diagrams. Only then did he realize that no matter which diagram it was, they all had a route to circulate the blood essence and demon spiritual force. They were all in a few thick meridians. This made Lu Kuan frown. He paced back and forth as if he was in some kind of confusion. Seeing this, the old gorilla thought that Lu Kuan was troubled because he couldn't circulate his magic power and blood essence according to the pattern. This made the old gorilla feel a bit guilty. It had dealt with human cultivators before and knew how cunning they could be. It was also thanks to human cultivators that they, the Black Mountain apes, came to the outer sea. Therefore, it had no choice but to use a little trick. First, it asked Lu Kuan to take out a few bottles of blood essence. According to Hazy, this blood essence was specially refined by Lu Kuan and was extremely useful for breaking through to the 5th level. Chapter 444. Fellow Taoist Lu, this technique can only be used by demonic beasts. Human cultivators don't have demonic spiritual energy, and their meridians are completely different from ours. It's normal that they can't cultivate it. Do you want me to compensate you with something else? The old ape looked at Lu Kuan, who was deep in thought, and asked. This sentence interrupted Lu Kuan's train of thought and stunned him. Looking at the old ape's slightly embarrassed expression, he knew that the old ape didn't want to trick him. He smiled and said, "Senior, you've misunderstood. I'm just wondering about the demonic cultivation technique. As for this control technique, I really can't use it right now. If Senior wants to compensate me, can you tell me the cultivation process of orthodox demonic beasts?" The old ape said strangely, "You're a human cultivator. Without demonic spiritual energy, you can't cultivate demonic spiritual energy. It's useless even if you know." Lu Kuan said, "I'm sure the Dahe has already told Senior about my strength. What do you think of my strength?" After he finished speaking, he channeled all of his thunder elemental spiritual energy. At the same time, he activated his chi and blood. His physical body emitted an oppressive force. The combination of spiritual energy and physical body was no less powerful than an early-stage core formation cultivator. Of course, it was still not enough for an experienced level 7 demonic beast like the old ape. The old ape felt the force and thought of the scene where Lu Kuan took its attack. It said in surprise, "I didn't notice. Although you have the bloodline of the great long-armed ape, you're still a human. But your physical strength is even stronger than the Dahe's. Since when did the physical body of a human cultivator reach such a level?" Lu Kuan withdrew his spiritual energy and qi and said with pride, "Because of the bloodline of the great long-armed ape, I comprehended the cultivation method of the physical body by chance. Now, my physical body is cultivated through the cultivation method I created." The old ape was a bit dazed. It was very intelligent and was no less intelligent than a core formation cultivator. Hearing that humans could cultivate the physical body, it was shocked. When the demon clan fought with the human cultivators, their biggest advantage was their physical bodies. If the human cultivators could make up for this shortcoming, would there still be a place for the demon beasts to survive in this world? Seeing Lu Kuan's serious expression, the old gorilla showed some killing intent. But soon it felt the familiar bloodline aura in this human cultivator's body, so it really couldn't kill him. The old chimpanzee looked at Xiao Jin, who was not far away, and then gave up this idea. He lowered his head and pondered. When Lu Kuan sensed the killing intent of the level 7 black mountain ape, he felt a chill run down his spine. He felt as though he was on the brink of death. Even if he burst out with his greatest battle prowess, he still wouldn't be a match for a Class 7 monstrous beast. After a long while, the old chimpanzee asked faintly, "Are you the only human cultivator who knows this body refining technique?" When Lu Kuan heard this question, he immediately understood why the old chimpanzee wanted to kill him. He forgot that humans and demon beasts were mortal enemies. The biggest reason why demon beasts could fight against humans was because of their strong physical bodies and their sharp claws that were comparable to magic weapons. If the human cultivators' physical bodies were even stronger, the battle with demon beasts would be completely one-sided. After figuring out the crux of the matter, Lu Kuan could not stop his cold sweat from flowing down. He took a deep breath and answered honestly, "Other than me, there are 5 other disciples of mine who know this technique. But I can only cultivate this body refining technique to the late stage of foundation establishment. As for how to break through to the next big realm, I only have some clues. It's not perfect yet." The old chimpanzee suddenly understood and said, "You asked me about the cultivation process of demon beasts, so you can use it as a reference to perfect your body refining technique, right?" Lu Kuan nodded nervously. Seeing this, the old chimpanzee's eyes flickered. Finally, he looked at the huge tree root and said faintly, "If other demon beasts in the sea heard about your situation, they would definitely fight to the death and kill you. They will never let the human cultivators make up for their shortcomings." Then, the old chimpanzee sighed and said, "But my Black Mountain Ape Clan is different." Lu Kuan breathed a sigh of relief in his heart and quietly waited for the demon clan elder to continue. "The reason why Blackie wants you to come to my clan's territory as soon as possible is that this silly chimpanzee believes that the ancient demonic ape clan can lead us back to the peak where we ruled thousands of demon beasts in the past. He also wants to borrow the power of your bloodline to enhance the strength of my clan. After all, my Black Mountain Ape Clan is facing a great crisis." Lu Kuan was puzzled and asked, "Crisis? With the current situation of human cultivators, it's unlikely that they can kill their way into the sea. Besides, aren't there many demon beasts in the demon beast form?" The old chimpanzee snorted and said, "After the demon beasts enter the form transformation realm, their various means are not inferior to that of humans. If it weren't for me, this old monkey, who once had some opportunities and gained wisdom, my Black Mountain Ape Clan would have long ceased to exist." Lu Kuan understood as soon as he heard this. The crisis comes from other demon beasts? The old chimpanzee looked at the tree root and sighed. After the black mountain apes entered the deep sea, fewer and fewer of our clan members awakened their talent. Our strength has been regressing, and the gap between us and the demon beasts in the deep sea is getting bigger and bigger. And I don't know when they found out about our clan's inheritance treasure, especially the Sea Bear clan, who covets this treasure. Lu Kuan was a little surprised. He certainly knew about the Sea Bear clan. It was a powerful demon beast in the deep sea, and its brute force could be said to be the strongest among the demon beasts in the sea. Back when he was on the demon island, he had schemed against one. That Sea Bear clan could completely resist the joint attack of Xiao Hongfei and the Philostikis for a short period of time. Its strength was evident. In addition to its powerful innate talents, according to what he heard on the Abyss Island, this clan also had 2 demon beasts in the form transformation realm. The entire clan's strength was not inferior to that of the major cultivation sections. Such a clan of demon beasts was not something that the Black Mountain apes could resist. After all, including the newly ascended Dahe, there were only 5 demon beasts above the 5th level. As for the inheritance treasure, Lu Kuan was very curious, but it was not appropriate for him to ask too much. The old chimpanzee glanced at Lu Kuan and continued, "I, this old monkey, have lived for a long time. I have 1 or 2 trump cards that can deter other demon beasts. However, I only have about 100 years left in my lifespan. Once I die, the Sea Bear clan will snatch my clan's treasure. The Black Mountain Ape clan is very likely to be exterminated. From your current strength, I can see that once you break through to the next major realm, your body will become even more powerful. Even your blood essence will change, which will be of great help to our clan. On top of that, the bloodline of that ancient demonic ape is also with you. Our clan might truly become powerful under your influence." Xiao Jin. Lu Kuan was a little confused. He did not know what this old chimpanzee wanted him to do. The old chimpanzee continued, "I can tell you the cultivation process of the demon beast. I can even tell you the whole process of my cultivation until I become a 7th level demon beast. I can also tell you the changes in my body at every stage. But you have to give me a promise." Lu Kuan's eyes were filled with joy when he heard the first half of the sentence. But when he heard the word promise, his expression turned serious. He asked in a deep voice, "What promise?" "I want you to promise that within 100 years, no matter whether you have a breakthrough in your cultivation or not, you will come back and take some of my clansmen to a safe place and help them become stronger." Lu Kuan pondered for a moment and suddenly asked, "Senior, do you trust me so much?" Chapter 445. Xiao Jin. Lu Kuan was even more confused. "Senior, I didn't see Xiao Jin among the 3 ancient demonic apes on the stone wall. What kind of ancient demonic ape is Xiao Jin?" The old gorilla revealed a mysterious smile and said, "Don't worry. This little monkey has the authentic bloodline of the ancient demonic ape. As for its specific name, I don't know. However, I've heard rumors about its supernatural power from the elders of the tribe. With its bloodline, its supernatural power is extremely terrifying. However, because of its supernatural power, it's very difficult for it to become a demonic beast, let alone a higher realm. It's said that in ancient times, there was only one demonic ape that cultivated to the demonic king realm. Since this little monkey is willing to follow you and has reached the 3rd level, it means that you can really lead us ape demonic beasts to new heights. Ordinary people can't control a demonic beast with such supernatural power." Lu Kuan didn't quite understand what the old chimpanzee was talking about. "You mean that Xiao Jin can become a 3rd level demonic beast because of me? Is it because Xiao Jin cultivated my body refining technique?" Lu Kuan said to himself. "What? You said that little monkey is practicing the body refining technique you created?" The old gorilla murmured, It actually chose you as the target of its supernatural power and used your technique to cultivate to the 3rd level. Hearing this, Lu Kuan could tell that the old gorilla really knew about Xiao Jin's supernatural power. He didn't hide it and said, "When I met Xiao Jin, its demonic spiritual power was destroyed by itself. It learned my technique and gradually grew up." The old gorilla was shocked. It destroyed its own demonic spiritual power and learned your technique. That's right. You're a human. In that case, what happened in ancient times wouldn't have happened. No wonder I felt that its aura was a little different from ordinary monkey demons. Next, the old gorilla seemed to have made up its mind. It looked up at Lu Kuan and said word by word, "Lu Kuan, do you agree to the previous promise?" Lu Kuan said seriously, "Since Senior trusts this junior so much, there's no reason for this junior to refuse. I'm just afraid that my cultivation will be stuck in a certain realm and delay the Black Mountain Ape Clan." The old gorilla shook his head and said, "I'm just trying to increase the hope of my race's continuation." Lu Kuan's face was solemn as he said firmly, "I, Lu Kuan, promise you that I will return to the Mountain Demon Ape's territory within 100 years. I will take away some of my clansmen and do my best to help the Mountain Black Apes survive and return to the peak of the demon race." The old gorilla nodded with a relaxed expression. He sat down and leaned against the thick root, saying, "Well, in that case, I'll tell you about the various changes in my body from a level 1 beast to a level 7 beast. I hope it can inspire you." Lu Kuan thanked him and sat down on the ground, listening quietly. "My Mountain Black Ape clan's bloodline isn't weak. Most of our clansmen can become demonic beasts. At that time, we can absorb the spiritual energy of heaven and earth into our demon vein. When the demon vein produces demon spiritual energy, we become level 1 demonic beast. At that time, the demon spiritual energy in the demon vein is in a gaseous state. While the demon vein is operating, it will also enter the body and transform it." Hearing this, Lu Kuan couldn't help but interrupt, "Improve the body? Where do you start? Muscles, bones, or internal organs?" Hearing Lu Kuan's question, the old gorilla felt strange and said, "Of course, it's all of them. At that time, the demon's spiritual energy will transform the body subtly and not under our control." Lu Kuan nodded thoughtfully and said, "Senior, please continue. As the demon's spiritual energy in the gaseous state becomes stronger, it will eventually break through to the liquid state. At that time, you will become a level 2 demonic beast. The liquid state will nourish your body even more. After becoming a level 2 demonic beast, you can control the demon's spiritual energy to nourish your body. I don't know about other demonic beasts, but when I entered level 2, I used the demon's spiritual energy to nourish my hands in an attempt to awaken my innate ability." At this time, Lu Kuan interrupted again, "Senior, when you nourish your hands, did you use the demon's spiritual energy to wash your muscles or bones?" The old gorilla was stunned. After thinking carefully, he replied, "It's the bones. The power of the fist is above the bones, and the claws also extend from the bones." Lu Kuan's eyes flashed. He seemed to have understood something and nodded. The old gorilla continued, "As the liquid state of the demon's spiritual energy strengthened, I entered the level 3 realm. At that time, under the nourishment of the demon's spiritual energy, I awakened the Mountain Black Ape's vast fist. After that, it was a long time of cultivation. At that time, the demon's spiritual energy not only nourished the fist, but also the whole body." "Oh right, you have to ask about the specific parts," the old gorilla recalled. "The internal organs should have strengthened a lot, but there was no obvious change. As for the other parts, such as the muscles, with the nourishment of the demon's spiritual energy, the defense of the skin and hair became higher and higher. As for the bones, the attack power increased. Just like that, I entered the level 5 demonic beast realm by chance and condensed a demon core in the center of the demon vein. Seeing that Lu Kuan was listening quietly and didn't have any new questions, the old gorilla continued, after condensing the demon core, the demon's spiritual energy became stronger. As for nourishing the body, it was completely under my control. I used it to nourish my hands, oh, the bones of my hands. Occasionally, it would also nourish other parts of the body. Hearing this, Lu Kuan pondered for a while and asked, Senior, after reaching the level 5, the power of your fists must be no less than that of a human cultivator's magic weapon. The old gorilla said proudly, even though I just entered the level 5 demonic beast realm, my fists could resist a magic weapon of the early stage of the core formation realm. At my current realm, with the help of the vast fist, I can even resist a magic weapon of a nascent soul cultivator. Lu Kuan turned a deaf ear to the old gorilla's proud words and murmured, Senior, the only thing that can be compared to a magic weapon is your opponent's palm bone. The old gorilla nodded and said, That's right. There was a time when many cultivators wanted to kill me, the mountain black ape, in the outer sea and obtain my palm bone. But at that time, my clan's shape-shifting elders were still alive. They killed one of the nascent soul cultivators who offended us. Since then, no cultivator dared to come here alone. Lu Kuan thought for a while and suddenly said, Senior, can I examine your palm bone carefully? The old gorilla was a bit strange, but it was a piece of cake for him, so he stretched out his hands. Chapter 446. With one look, Lu Kuan immediately noticed something different. In this pair of hairy, calloused palms with inch-long sharp claws, there were extremely dense bones, almost comparable to the treasures he had seen before, and there were some strange patterns on the bones. This made Lu Kuan's expression change. He activated his golden eyes and looked at his arm. After a closer look, he found that there were very small patterns on the bones of his arm, but they were not as obvious as those on the old ape's palm bones. Lu Kuan murmured and continued to check the condition of the old ape's palm bones. After careful observation for 30 minutes, with his experience in refining magic treasures, he found that the blood vessels in the old ape's palm bones, as well as the demon veins, and the patterns on them, combined together, played the same role as a magic treasure array. This made Lu Kuan understand that the old ape's palm bones not only reached the magic treasure level, but the effect of these patterns was also no less than that of a real magic treasure. Not to mention other things, just the material of my bones is far inferior to it. He sighed in his heart. Demon beasts are demon beasts after all, blessed by nature, their bodies are naturally much stronger than humans. And the demon's spiritual power running in the demon veins nourishes the body more than my spiritual power, so there are such bones comparable to magic treasures. Lu Kuan murmured aloud, It seems that my next breakthrough, the bone treasure stage, will be extremely difficult. Bone treasure stage? The old ape listened to Lu Kuan's muttering and asked curiously. Lu Kuan explained, This is the name of the next stage that I deduced, which is equivalent to the core formation stage. The whole stage will gradually condense the bones into magic treasures. The old ape combined the cultivation process described before with the exploration of its palm bones, and said in disbelief, Do you want to refine the bones in your body into magic treasures? Seeing Lu Kuan nodding, the old ape shook its head and said, Impossible, even us demon cultivators only have a few attack parts on the body with the power of magic treasures. You are a human cultivator, the bones in your body are just ordinary bones, you don't have the sharp fangs and claws of us demon cultivators. Lu Kuan's eyes revealed a trace of fanaticism as he said, Ordinary human cultivators can't do it, but that doesn't mean that I, a body cultivator, can't do it. My current physical strength and defense are no weaker than any Class 4 demonic beast. With the help of the power of connecting arms, I can even fight Class 5 demonic beasts. Although I don't have sharp fangs and claws and only have an ordinary human body, after so many years of body tempering, I have polished my body as a material the foundation is solid. The next step is to use my whole body as a material to refine it into magic treasures. Of course, Lu Kuan said. Of course, I don't have scales. I don't have scales of armor, of course. The toughest part of my body is my bones. Before the body becomes a magic treasure, I have to refine my bones to the level of magic treasures. This is the cultivation of the bone treasure period. After hearing Lu Kuan's words, the old ape couldn't help but look at his body again. However, it hadn't reached the 8th level yet. It didn't have the power of divine sense to see Lu Kuan's internal skeleton. It could only judge based on the previous fight between the two. After thinking carefully, the old ape remembered a detail. Although Lu Kuan was knocked out by it after waking up, there was no damage to his body. Especially the human fist that collided with its fists, it looked intact. Although it was because of the connecting arms technique, it also showed the defensive power of Lu Kuan's arms. Not only were his bones hard, the muscles wrapped around them were stronger than ordinary demon beasts. After a long time, the old ape asked again, "After we demon beasts enter the 5th level, we can nourish a part of our body to the level of magic treasures with the help of a higher-level demon's spiritual power. Although your magic power is of the thunder attribute, it's still far from the level of a 5th-level demon beast's spiritual power." Hearing this, Lu Kuan's eyes flashed with a trace of determination. He said, "Yes, it does need a higher level of spiritual power to refine it. However, I can't judge at what stage the real magic weapon takes shape." The old ape was also a demon beast cultivator for many years. After thinking for a while, it found a problem. It asked, "Do you plan to condense the golden core first, or let your bones transform first?" Lu Kuan shook his head. "I won't condense the golden core, because the magic power of a body cultivator isn't in the meridians, and there's no dantian." The old ape was stunned. The magic power of the body doesn't refine the meridians and dantian. Then it sighed, "No wonder your body is so strong. If you don't condense the golden core, where will you get the higher-level magic power to nourish your bones?" Lu Kuan's eyes flashed with golden light. The golden core is just a manifestation of the transformation of the magic power. It turns the liquid magic power into a solid state. As long as the magic power transforms, it can take many forms. Next, I'm going to refine my bones into magic treasures. Why can't I let the magic power transform directly into a solid state in my bones? The old ape was stunned. Lu Kuan meant that if it was a demon beast cultivator, he wouldn't condense the golden core. Instead, he would let the demon's spiritual power transform into a solid state in his bones, making it feel helpless. Then the old ape shook its head. "I only know a little about the techniques of human cultivators. I can't give you any advice." Seeing this, Lu Kuan smiled and said, "Senior, you told me about the transformation process of a demon beast's body and let me observe the palm bone. It has already given me a lot of inspiration." The old ape waved its hand and said, "Okay, since you've gained a lot, give me a few more bottles of essence blood. Anyway, there will be new blood in your body." Lu Kuan was speechless. When the old ape wanted him to make a promise, it seemed to be very righteous. Now it was thinking about the essence blood he sacrificed. He smiled bitterly and said, "Senior, my blood is a little different. Even if it's new blood, it will take me a lot of effort. In the past 17 years, I've only made 10 bottles. I'll give you 7. I'll use the remaining 3 bottles to heal my wounds." The old ape raised its gray eyebrows. "Give me 2 more bottles." Lu Kuan insisted, "Not even 1 bottle." Then 1 bottle. The man and the ape were in a stalemate for a long time. In the end, Lu Kuan was defeated and had to give the old ape another bottle. Haha, now those 8-level, 4 little guys can try to break through. With the help of your essence blood, I think 2 of them can enter level 5. Lu Kuan was puzzled. 2? On the Demon Island, Dahe's essence worked very well. Why is the success rate so low here? The old ape said with some disdain, "Do you think there's such strong demon chi everywhere? Besides, I let Hei-Zi be the young chief, because he's very talented. With all these points, he can break through smoothly with the help of your essence blood. Under normal circumstances, it's not bad if one of the 10 little guys in our tribe can enter level 5. Lu Kuan thought for a moment and agreed. After all, level 5 demon beasts were equivalent to the core formation stage. Human cultivators' chances of breaking through were even lower. Although many people on the Demon Island succeeded in breaking through, outside of the Demon Island, there might not even be 1 in 20 peak foundation establishment stage cultivators who could enter the core formation stage. Chapter 447. In the blink of an eye, Lu Kuan had been on the Black Mountain Ape Island for more than a month. He had a better understanding of this demonic ape tribe. Apart from the old chimpanzee, who was at the peak of the 7th level, among the other 4 Black Mountain apes in the cave, the middle-aged chimpanzee was at the 6th level. The others, including Dahe, were all at the 5th level. However, among these Black Mountain apes, only the middle-aged chimpanzee, Dahe, and the old chimpanzee had awakened the vast fist. Not only was it powerful in attack, but it could also use the power of control. As long as one's physical body was weaker than theirs, one would be affected by this power of control. With the physical body of a 5th-level demonic beast, even a nascent soul cultivator would be affected by this power if he was careless. Therefore, when the Black Mountain ape had a shape-shifting level cultivator, it killed a nascent soul cultivator with this power. Apart from the 5 high-level demonic beasts, there were more than 100 Black Mountain apes from the 1st level to the 4th level. Just these 100-plus tribesmen had given birth to 5 demonic beasts that were comparable to the core formation stage. And this was under the current situation where the tribe was declining. This showed how powerful the bloodline of the Black Mountain apes was. At this moment, in the forest on the island, a small silver figure was running among the branches. Using the dense foliage of the forest, it was extremely agile. Behind the silver figure were 6 strong chimpanzees. These chimpanzees were hanging from the branches with their hands. Seeing that the silver figure was faster than them, they were so angry that they kept howling. One of the strongest gorillas with the blackest hair let out a roar. His hands swelled up slightly and he continued to swing forward. Although the frequency of swinging was about the same, due to the increase in strength, the distance of each swing increased by a lot. As a result, its speed was not slower than that of the silver figure. In the blink of an eye, this black-haired chimpanzee and the silver figure disappeared from the vision of the other chimpanzees. Just when the other chimpanzees were hesitating whether to continue chasing, a tempting aroma came from outside the forest. Immediately, their saliva flowed out and they subconsciously swung towards the source of the aroma. After about half an hour, these 5 chimpanzees swung out of the forest and came to the beach at the edge of the island. They immediately looked towards the source of the aroma. It was an earthworm-like insect that was as thick as a person's thigh and several feet long. It was placed on top of a few long silver rods, and a light purple flame was burning beneath it. The aroma was coming from the worm's meat. Beside the insects was the silver figure that they had been chasing. It was a spotted silver leopard. The leopard was sitting at the side, its tail swaying slightly. Its eyes were fixed on the insects in the middle. The black-haired gorilla that had chased after Junior Leopard was sitting cross-legged next to Junior Leopard. It was not angry at all, and its eyes were looking at the worm meat in the middle with desire. This made the chimpanzees very confused. They did not understand why the 2 demonic beasts that almost fought were so well behaved. Then, they saw a 7 to 8 feet tall burly chimpanzee next to them. Only then did they understand that with their young chief here, how could the fellows in the tribe be dishonest? In addition to the 2 chimpanzees and Junior Leopard, there was a yellow-haired little monkey sitting on the shoulder of their young chief. There was also a human beside them. His hands were flashing with purple light, as if he was controlling the light purple flame. Seeing this man, the chimpanzees showed some reverence. Even though they were a little far away, they could still feel the power of the ancient demonic ape bloodline in this human. Furthermore, they had seen this human sparring with their young clan leader. That tiny body of his was actually able to fight evenly with their young clan leader. This made them feel even more reverence towards him. Therefore, these chimpanzees resisted the tempting aroma of the worm and planned to retreat into the forest. "Hey, Dahe, there are some of your tribesmen coming over. Anyway, this sandstar worm is not small. Let them have a taste." Lu Kuan, who was controlling the genuine fire to burn the sandstar worm, had already noticed the timid big guys in the distance. He laughed and said. Dahe, who was beside him, obeyed Lu Kuan's words and shouted a few words. Only then did the strong chimpanzees cautiously walk over and sit at the outermost periphery timidly. Lu Kuan joked, "As the young chief, do you often educate your tribesmen? Look how scared they are of you." Dahe scratched his head and explained in a muffled voice. "So it's because of the bloodline." Lu Kuan nodded thoughtfully. He and Dahe had just practiced for a round, so their chi and blood were inevitably surging. Therefore, he controlled the blood vessels and heart in his body and restrained the vigorous chi and blood. At this time, the expressions of the 2- and 3-level chimpanzees finally relaxed. Lu Kuan looked at the sandstar worm in front of him, whose aroma was getting stronger and stronger, and sighed. "If I had known that you mountain black apes like to eat the sandstar worm's meat because it has the effect of strengthening the muscles, I would have stayed in that sea area for a while." Woo-woo. Dahe looked at the cooked sandstar worm's body and could not help but remind him. "It's cooked so quickly?" Lu Kuan looked at the sandstar worm's meat that had turned golden. He put away his mana true fire and took out a long sword magic tool from his storage bag. With the help of his brute force, he cut the sandstar worm's meat into 10 pieces. "Come, everyone has a share." "Oh no, the beasts have a share," Lu Kuan muttered as he threw the sliced sandstar worm's meat to the surrounding chimpanzees. Even though the sandstar worm's body was big, with so many mountain black apes sharing it equally, it was soon finished. Seeing this, Xiao Hui quickly swung his tail and let out an unhappy howl. Lu Kuan could not help but laugh. "I know. Come, this is for you." "Hey, Xiao Hui, you said you knew where to find honey. So you took it from Xiao Liang." Meow. Xiao Hui took a bite of the sandstar worm's meat and ignored Lu Kuan. He took it to the side and ate. Lu Kuan shook his head. After dividing the sandstar worm's meat, he picked up the piece in front of him and took a bite. It was crispy and chewy. What a tough piece of meat. This was Lu Kuan's first reaction. After he swallowed it, he immediately felt a strange energy flowing into his body and muscles. With his current physical strength, he could feel that his muscles were strengthened. This made him no longer have any doubts about Dahe's words. He finished the sandstar worm's meat in 2 or 3 bites. The strange energy nourished his body and muscles. Although the improvement was minimal, it was still very comfortable. Woo-woo. Suddenly, a cry attracted Lu Kuan's attention. He could not help but look over. He saw the little silver spot leopard twitching on the ground in pain. It had only taken a bite of the sandstar worm's meat. Lu Kuan's expression tensed up. Just as he was about to move, Xiao Hui stopped twitching and looked at the sandstar worm's meat with joy. It took another bite and continued tearing. Its body stopped twitching. Lu Kuan was stunned. After thinking for a while, he realized that the sandstar worm's meat would have a certain effect on his muscles. Although the silver spot leopard was a demonic beast, it was only at the 2nd level. Its body was not even comparable to the other mountain black apes here. Being nourished by the mysterious energy of the sandstar worm's meat, it would definitely feel pain. No wonder I've never heard of the sandstar worm's meat having any effect on human cultivators. The body of a cultivator is even weaker than that of a 2nd-level demonic beast. Their muscles might collapse under the sudden stimulation. Chapter 448. Also, from what I can tell, this level 4 sandstar worm is quite useful to Zhao Qingtian and the others, Lu Kuan said in deep thought. Although they've already entered the bone tempering stage and their muscles have already transformed once, it's still the body tempering foundation building stage. The more solid their bodies are, the better. The disciples of the Star Moon Pavilion killed a level 3 sandstar worm over there before. This means that there might be more of these worms in that sea area. Let's make a trip there. After making up his mind, Lu Kuan raised his head and looked at the other black mountain apes. The first one to chase after Xiao Hui was a black-haired gorilla. It had the aura of a level 3 beast. Lu Kuan was familiar with it because this black mountain ape's talent was only second to Dahei's. According to Blackie, as long as it entered level 4, it would most likely be able to awaken the vast fist innate divine ability. Because this gorilla's hair was especially shiny, Lu Kuan named it Xiaoliangzi. Although Xiaoliangzi was only a level 3 beast, its body was only slightly smaller than Dahei's, but it was much bigger than Lu Kuan's. It had already finished the sandstar worm's meat. At this moment, the black mountain ape was circulating its demon's spiritual energy, trying to use some of it to nourish its muscles. The other 5 black mountain apes had also finished eating the worm's meat. However, they didn't have much control over their demon's spiritual energy, so they could only use the strange energy in the sandstar worm's meat to transform their bodies. As for Xiao Jin, its body contained demon spiritual energy, so it could easily absorb this special energy. When it was eating, it was circulating its demon spiritual energy at the same time to maximize the effect of the energy. Needless to say, Dahei's muscles weren't as good as Lu Kuan's. Eating the sandstar worm's meat didn't help it much. Among the demonic beasts here, only Xiao Hui, the little silver spot leopard, benefited the most. Back when Su Tianchuan was raising the silver spot leopard, he would often refine some pills that could help the demonic beasts increase their spiritual energy. Although their spiritual energy would increase rapidly, their physical bodies would lack nourishment for a long time, so they would naturally be weaker. At this moment, Xiao Hui had eaten a large piece of sandworm meat, which had tempered its muscles and improved its strength by quite a bit. Dahei, these sandstar worms are also very useful to body cultivators. The sea region I came across isn't too far from here. I'll go there and clean up the sandstar worms there. Let's see if we can hunt a few more. Dahei's face revealed a hint of excitement as it whimpered. When Lu Kuan heard this, he shook his head and said, "That won't do. Your clan elders said that you cannot leave Crescent Moon Island. The old senior is currently busy helping your clansmen increase their chances of advancement. Since that's the case, the safety of the island will depend on you and the other high-tier demonic apes." When Dahei heard Lu Kuan's words, it knew that the safety of its clan was more important. Its expression became a little gloomy. Little Liangzi, on the other hand, suddenly opened his eyes when he heard Lu Kuan's words. He looked at Lu Kuan hopefully. "As Xiao Liang, you want to go?" The black-furred gorilla nodded its head. Lu Kuan pondered for a while before agreeing. He said to Dahei, "Then I'll bring Xiao Liang with me. The place isn't far. I estimate that I'll be back in 2 weeks. By then, the old senior's preparations should be more or less done." Seeing that Dahei agreed, Lu Kuan summoned the silver dragon spirit shuttle. He then looked at the little silver spot leopard and smiled. "Xiao Hui, you stay here first. The place near the waterfall cave is very suitable for you to cultivate. After you digest the worm meat, I'll return and give you some more." When the little silver spot leopard heard this, it squinted its eyes. Clearly, it was very satisfied with Lu Kuan's words. Then, Lu Kuan called Xiao Jin and Xiao Liang to fly into the silver dragon spirit shuttle. Then, he activated this flying artifact and flew towards the sea region where he encountered the Xingyue Pavilion disciples. Right now, Lu Kuan was not afraid of encountering Zhai Xingzi at all. During his time on the Black Ape Island, he had sparred with Dahe many times. When Dahe didn't use the Hao Fist, they were almost evenly matched with each other. It was hard to tell who was the winner and who was the loser. During the battle on the Demon Island, he knew that Dahe's strongest power was no less than the intermediate stage of the core formation realm. In addition to his control abilities, even an intermediate stage core formation realm cultivator could be killed if they weren't careful. Lu Kuan's current physical strength was not inferior to Dahe's by much. His control abilities were not very effective. Moreover, Lu Kuan had the help of a pseudomagic treasure. Therefore, his combat power was almost on par with Dahe. If Dahe used the Hao Fist, Lu Kuan would be defeated. After all, Dahe, who had become a level 5 demonic beast, could also use the Hao Fist to increase his strength. On the other hand, Zhai Xingzi had only entered the core formation realm for more than 10 years. Even if he had a magic treasure, he hadn't refined it for a long time. His power was limited. Just as Lu Kuan was flying towards the sea region where the sandstar worms were, Zhai Xingzi and his group had just captured 2 level 4 sandstar worms. They were flying towards the Black Mountain Apes' territory at the same time. However, in this vast sea, even if their routes overlapped, they still didn't encounter each other. However, when Zhai Xingzi and his group arrived at the Black Mountain Apes' territory, they still had to search carefully. After all, their sect had only given them an area of the Black Mountain Apes' territory. They had to find the actual island. Previously, when Lu Kuan was searching, he was guided by Xiao Jin's bloodline. Therefore, he was able to find the island very smoothly. While Zhai Xingzi and his group were carefully searching for traces of the Black Mountain Ape, Lu Kuan had already arrived at the island where he met the Star Moon Pavilion's disciples. He stood on the Silver Dragon Spirit Shuttle and looked down at the beach. He pondered and said, "Although no human cultivator knows the uses of the sandstar worm's physical body, its blood is a material for refining pills. The Abyss Island has information about this demonic beast. It is said that the sandstar worm has a concealment ability. When it is buried under the sand, even a core formation realm's consciousness would have a hard time finding it. Therefore, it is very difficult to find it. However, something that cannot be found by consciousness is nothing to us." Lu Kuan looked at the little monkey beside him and said, "Xiao Jin, listen carefully for any movements under the beach. I will use my golden eye technique to search. Now that my consciousness has reached the peak of the Foundation establishment realm, my detection ability has greatly increased. I can use my golden eye technique to search for anything hundreds of feet under the sand." Woo woo! Just as Lu Kuan was about to cast his technique, Liang Zi, who was listening to him, suddenly cried out. Lu Kuan looked at Xiao Jin with some confusion. Unlike Dahe, he didn't understand the language of this Black Mountain Ape. Ji. After listening to Xiao Jin's translation, Lu Kuan smiled and said, "Don't worry. When the time comes, I will leave the mission of killing the sandstar worm to you." Woo woo! Hearing this, Liang Zi beat his chest with his fists and was extremely excited. Then, Lu Kuan inserted his consciousness into his eyes and controlled the Silver Dragon Spirit Shuttle to fly down. Xiao Jin's ears faintly glowed as they began to search the islands one by one. I didn't expect there to be one on this island. Looking at its demonic spiritual energy, it is at the 3rd rank. Lu Kuan's golden eye technique quickly found a sandstar worm disguised as an oval-shaped rock 10 feet under a tree on the beach of this island. Chapter 449. On the beach of a small island, a man with mana fluctuations crawled out of the sea and walked unsteadily. If there were any cultivators passing by, they would definitely look at him with disdain. His mana fluctuations were only at the beginning stage of the Foundation establishment stage. In this outer sea, there were many monsters of the second level and above. Ordinary cultivators at the beginning stage of the foundation establishment stage would be courting death. Looking at the man's robe, it was somewhat damaged and his magic power was somewhat unstable. It was as if he had gone through a battle and was lucky enough to survive. After walking on the beach for a while, the man looked more and more tired, as if he had been seriously injured. He walked to a coconut tree and leaned against the tree trunk. He threw a pill into his mouth with great effort. Then, his eyes rolled back and he fainted. Not long after, he let out light breathing sounds. It was unknown whether he was too tired or seriously injured, but he fell asleep just like that. Other than the light snoring sounds, the only other sound on this island was the rustling of leaves in the sea breeze. The blue sea was very calm. It gently slapped against the white sand on the beach. No one came to disturb this seriously injured human cultivator. After an unknown amount of time, the man's mana gradually stabilized and recovered. It was obvious that the pill had taken effect. Suddenly, a yellow light appeared in the white sand under the man. An earthworm as thick as a man's thigh rushed out from under him. Its mouth opened wide, revealing sharp teeth. It was ferocious and terrifying. Like a meat grinder, it bit towards the man's arm. This earthworm exuded an aura stronger than the man's. It was a level 3 sandstar worm. It was comparable to a mid-stage foundation establishment stage cultivator. If nothing unexpected happened, the man's defenseless arm would be swallowed in one bite. Unfortunately, accidents could happen at any time. Just as it was about to swallow the man's arm, the arm suddenly swelled up. A surge of chi and blood flashed in the air. The arm made of human flesh directly resisted the bite of the worm's sharp teeth. Crack! A crisp sound was heard. The earthworm let out a cry of horror, as if it had seen a terrifying creature. After the arm was bitten by the fangs, there were only some slight scratches. However, what made the sandstar worm even more terrified was the strength of the arm. The thick hand grabbed the fangs and pulled gently, breaking one of the fangs. The sandstar worm shook its fat body and tried to burrow back into the sand. The man let out a hearty laugh. "Haha, you think you can break free from Lu Kuan's grasp with this little bit of strength? Too naive. Liang Zi, I'll leave it to you." While speaking, the man's other thick arm came one after another. Both hands grabbed the thickest fangs on both sides of the mouth and threw them into the sea outside the beach. Roar! At the same time, a strong gorilla with an excited face jumped out of the sea outside the beach. As soon as it came out of the water, it let out an excited cry. Both of its fists slightly swelled up, and the muscles on its body bulged. The huge monkey fists were covered in yellow light, and it accurately punched towards the head above the sandstar worm's mouth. Bang! The chimpanzee was quite strong. His fists made a dull sound, and the sandstar worm was blown back to the beach. "Liang Zi, are you not full yet?" Seeing that the sandstar worm was still moving in the air, the man was a little dissatisfied. A purple light flashed under his feet, and in an instant, he was under the fat worm. His thick and strong arms crossed, blocking the worm that was trying to drill down. Then, he turned around and kicked the sandstar worm to where the chimpanzee was without making any sound. Hearing the man's words, the chimpanzee's eyes flashed with a trace of stubbornness. It landed on the beach and slightly squatted down. Its level 3 demon spiritual energy rushed towards its fists, and with the help of its legs, it once again hammered towards the sandstar worm's head. Poochie! There was a sound of something breaking. The sandstar worm no longer made any sound and fell on the beach. Roar! The chimpanzee raised its fist and beat its chest, and roared excitedly again. At this time, another yellow monkey appeared in the sea. This one man and 2 apes were Lu Kuan's group. Lu Kuan looked at Liang Zi, who was roaring nonstop, and said unhappily, "If you keep roaring, the sandstar worms nearby will not continue to be fooled." Hearing this, the chimpanzee suddenly stopped roaring. It looked at the human cultivator that it was in awe of with a little embarrassment. Half a day ago, Lu Kuan thought of the two foundation establishment stage disciples from the Star Moon Pavilion. At that time, he was very puzzled as to why the Star Moon Pavilion dared to let disciples with such low cultivation come here. In addition, there were two sand star worms that attacked the couple, which made him have a vague idea. Is it that the sand star worms also like to eat cultivators? Facing foundation establishment stage cultivators, level 3 or level 4 sand star worms could almost succeed in a sneak attack. Then Lu Kuan gave it a try. He had the ability to hide his spiritual roots, and he could hide his spiritual sense and aura. Furthermore, the body cultivator technique that he created could hide his spiritual sense and aura. Even core formation stage cultivators could be fooled, let alone a level 3 beast. Just as he guessed, after sensing Lu Kuan's foundation establishment stage aura, the sand star worm could not hold back. After observing for a while, it came over to attack. With the attack of a level 3 beast, not to mention Lu Kuan's arm, even if it attacked other parts of his body, it would not be able to bite off even a piece of flesh. Looking at his perfectly fine arm, Lu Kuan smiled and said, "Next, we'll do the same. We'll use this method to lure and kill these sandstar worms. You guys can practice." After saying that, Lu Kuan summoned the silver dragon spirit shuttle and carried the two monkeys, who were drooling, to the next island. At the same time, 40 to 50 miles away from the Crescent Moon Island where the Black Mountain apes lived, Zhai Xingzi, with a cautious look, landed on the ground with 5 disciples of the Star Moon Pavilion. Zhai Xingzi wiped the cold sweat off his forehead and muttered to himself, "Although Elder Peng said that the Black Mountain apes no longer have any transformation stage cultivators, we still have to be careful. With this level of spiritual sense, they can even detect up to 40 miles away." After a period of investigation, Zhai Xingzi finally discovered the territory of the Black Mountain ape. However, as soon as he discovered it, he immediately brought the disciples to 40 to 50 miles away. He was afraid that there were still transformation stage cultivators in the tribe. After standing there for half a day, Zhai Xingzi's expression finally relaxed. He took out a piece of pale yellow worm meat the size of an arm and floated it in front of him. Then, he summoned a flame and started to burn the worm meat. A strange fragrance gradually wafted through the air. Chapter 450. In the following time, the 5 disciples of the Star Moon Pavilion laid down an extremely intricate miniature formation on the island. It flickered with black and white light. This was the famous 5 elements 8 trigrams formation of the Star Moon Pavilion. However, the formation disc that they used was a replica. The true 5 elements 8 trigrams formation was at the level of a forbidden formation. It was not something that could be set up by mere early foundation establishment cultivators. Although it was a replica, this formation was still extremely wondrous. However, in order to unleash its power, it required a foundation establishment cultivator with the attributes of metal, wood, water, fire, and earth to activate it. That was why the Star Moon Pavilion sent 5 early foundation establishment disciples this time. Other than luring out the sandstar worms, it was also to activate this formation. Under the control of the 5 disciples, a transparent light enveloped them. The 6 of them, including Zhai Xingzi, disappeared as if there was no one on the island. This was the greatest effect of the replica formation. It could conceal one's body and hide one's presence. Even the spiritual sense of a late core formation cultivator might not be able to see through this formation and discover them. Other than that, it also had a strong defense. Under the control of the 5 early foundation establishment cultivators, it could block the attack of a mid-core formation cultivator. It was extremely wondrous. This was also what Elder Pring of the Star Moon Pavilion had told them. Through some channels, he understood that the Black Mountain Ape clan did not have any transfiguration level beings. However, there were definitely still apes above the 6th or 7th level. If Zhai Xingzi encountered a Black Mountain Ape of this level, he would most likely be no match for it. With this formation, his safety would be guaranteed. The 5 early Foundation establishment disciples controlled the 5 elements 8 trigrams formation. Zhai Xingzi stayed within the formation. A black and white compass floated in front of him. Under his control, the black and white light formed an intricate miniature formation. The star plucker waved his hand, and the cooked insect meat landed firmly in the center of the formation. The aroma emitting from the meat became 100 times richer under the effect of the formation. Then, under the effect of a simple wild wind spell, the aroma quickly drifted into the distance. However, as the aroma spread, the cooked worm meat also decreased bit by bit. It was very obvious that this miraculous formation had turned the worm meat into an even richer aroma. That was why the aroma could travel so far. Coupled with the existence of the 5 elements 8 trigrams formation, it was as if the aroma had appeared out of thin air on the island. Seeing that the formation was successful, Zhai Xingzi let out a sigh of relief. It was also because of his extraordinary talent in formations that he dared to accept this mission. After that, Zhai Xingzi carefully controlled the power of his divine sense and observed the nearby sea. He knew that the aroma of the elements 8 trigrams demonate. That was why he controlled his spiritual sense to the lowest level. Zhai Xingzi. As long as a Black Mountain Ape entered Zhai Xing. Once Black Mountain Apes entered Zhai Xingzi, Zhai Sun, Zhai Xingzi. El Zhai Sun demonate. Zhai Xingzi. Just like that, Zhai Xingzi and the other disciples of the Star Moon Pavilion waited quietly for a day and a night. Not a single demonic beast came from the vicinity. The first piece of bug meat had also disappeared in this day. Zhai Xingzi had already noticed this, and placed another piece of bug meat of the same size on top of it. This continued for a full week, but there was still no sign of any Black Mountain Ape. Instead, there were a few other random demonic beasts. There were splitting eagles, seal beasts, and even a tortoise-type demonic beast that slowly followed the scent. This made Zhai Xingzi somewhat depressed. However, the other Foundation establishment disciples were somewhat happy. Zhai Xingzi didn't care about these demonic beasts, but to them, it was a considerable amount of wealth. Looking at the remaining half of the sandstar worm in his storage bag, Zhai Xingzi simply put away the magic formation in front of him, then clenched his teeth and said, "Let's move forward for another 15 miles. In that case, as long as we are about 10 miles away from the island, we will be able to smell the sandstar worm meat. If that's the case, our chances of success will be much higher." After hearing Zhai Xingzi's words, the disciples behind him looked at each other. One of them said weakly, "But, uncle, if that's the case, we will be in even more danger." Zhai Xingzi snorted coldly and said, "If you're afraid, then stay here. Although I will have some trouble without this magic formation, I can still deal with it. However, for you guys, there will be no reward for this mission." Zhai Xingzi's words directly hit the weak spot of the Zhai Xingzi disciples. They all knew that the reward this time was an elixir personally refined by the sect's ancestral master Pring. Even if they weren't very talented, with the help of the elixir from the sect's nascent soul stage ancestral master, they would be able to smoothly break through the bottleneck and enter the middle Foundation establishment stage. This way they would be one step closer to the golden core stage. Seeing that the disciples didn't refute, Zhai Xingzi snorted coldly and said, "What are you waiting for? Pack up the magic formation plate." The 5 disciples then hurriedly packed up the magic formation plate. After half an hour, Zhai Xingzi and the rest flew towards the direction of the Black Mountain Apes Island for about 15 miles. What gave them a headache was that there weren't any islands in this area. It was all seawater. If the fragrance of the sandstar worm wafted out from the seawater, then it would be too abnormal. The few Foundation Establishment beginner stage disciples wouldn't be able to unleash the power of the 5 elements 8 trigrams formation on the surface of the sea. In the end, Zhai Xingzi gritted his teeth. Under the fearful gazes of the other Zhai Xingzi disciples, they advanced for a long distance. Only then did they discover a small isolated island the size of a palm. There were only 1 or 2 bear trees on it. This small island was only 15 to 16 miles away from the Crescent Moon Island where the Black Mountain Ape was located. It was quite risky to travel such a short distance. If the Class 5 demonic ape found them, then it would be fine. Zhai Xingzi believed that he could handle it. However, if they encountered a Class 6 Black Mountain Ape, he might be able to survive, but the few disciples would have a slim chance of survival. Despite the risks, Zhai Xingzi had no choice but to do this. This was because even if he was so close, it would still take some time to attract the Black Mountain Ape. It would also require some luck. Furthermore, they only had half of the Sandstar worm meat left. If they didn't make full use of it, then they wouldn't know how long it would take to hunt down this demonic worm that had the ability to conceal itself. The few of them quickly set up a formation on this island. With the help of the formation, they could perfectly conceal themselves. After everything was ready, Zhai Xingzi showed some reluctance as he split a piece of worm meat that was as thick as an arm into 2 portions. He only roasted one of the pieces of worm meat and placed it into his unorthodox formation. It was better to use the worm meat sparingly. If Zhai Xingzi knew that the Sandstar worm that he had worked so hard to obtain was being easily found, lured out, and killed by Lu Kuan, who knew what kind of expression he would have. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.